WBEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Bob Cooney. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Good morning, Delaware Valley and beyond. Middays with Bob Cooney. Glad to have you with us. So glad to be here. Hope you enjoyed our new morning show with Andrew and John. And we have a new adventure here from 10 to 2. That's right. It'll be me, Ray Dunn producing, the wonderful, the terrific, the very, very young Ray Dunn. Ray, such a pleasure to be with you. Looking forward to this little adventure that we have going on here.
I grew out a beard just to look a little bit older, to give off the presentation of a little bit older here.
Dude,
but I appreciate it.
You could grow a beard, I think, during a show.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you're a hairy individual. But, yeah, Ray's got the you're a day late with the red beard. You look like a fine Irishman. I commended this company to trust two Irishmen the day after St. Patrick's Day to start a new show. Very daring of them. But they decided to do it, and here we are. I want to thank everybody through the weekend as we made the announcement on Friday about the new shows that we have going on here. A lot of tweets came to me and Ray. We thank you for all of them, people that have reached out, texts and all that. Look, I'll give you a guideline to what I think this show is going to be for here and for now, and you know, for those of you who don't know me or Ray, but I look at sports in this city as something I have covered for a long, long time, as my coworkers here at 97.5 The Fanatic remind me on a daily basis. As we know, Pat Egan calls me Pop-Up. Connor Thomas just gave me the old Mr. Cooney coming up next. So I'm going to draw on that. I'm going to draw on the years that I've covered sports here, the involvement that we have going on now with these teams, our accessibility that we do have with these teams, to present it to you, to share with you. And this isn't a one-man show. I want to talk sports with you guys. I get so much pleasure out of talking sports with the great fans, with the great listeners of this station. So that we're going to do that often, and that's going to be the theme of this show. I never, and I learned this, I told this to Dee Lynham yesterday, Ray, when I was on her show. I learned a great lesson from her wonderful father, Jimmy Lynham, whose basketball knowledge is probably unparalleled in this city. Jimmy Lynham and I would walk the corridors of the Wells Fargo Center, and a stranger would come up and give their opinion to a Jimmy Lynham. Jimmy Lynham has probably heard this a million times, probably thought it a million times, but always listened to see if there was something more that he could learn, an idea he hadn't thought of. That's what I do on a daily basis when it comes to sports. Yeah, I've been around a while, and I've seen a lot of things, and probably more than the average person here at the Fanatic, but I'm never stopping learning. I love to listen to people give their opinion about sports, so that's what we're here for. Great weekend that we had. A lot of stuff going on that we're going to get into. Sixers, I would call it like a tough win over Charlotte on Friday night. Didn't look all that great. Didn't play wonderful basketball. Very tight game there at the end in the fourth quarter, a one-point game until they pulled it away a little bit. You get a big three-pointer from Nick Batum. All of those things. But I would categorize it as a tough win. Didn't have Tobias Harris. And yesterday I was at practice. He did not practice yesterday. Doesn't look like he's going to be a go tonight when they host the Miami Heat. Buddy Hield scores 14 points all in the second half. You're going to need that from Buddy Hield. That's got to be there for this team moving forward. Some kind of offensive presence from Buddy Hield that doesn't have to be searched out. It has to come naturally, I believe, from Buddy Hield to get this team to a point of goodness that if/when a Joel Embiid comes back, if you're a Nick Nurse, you kind of know what you have moving forward. They're at 37-30 right now, tied for 8th in the Eastern Conference with those Miami Heat. Just a half game behind the 6th place Pacers. So it's real tight as to whether the Sixers are going to be in that play-in tournament. Are they going to get a 6 seed? Where can they go? Tough schedule coming up. You got a West Coast swing coming. And as I mentioned earlier, they do play the Miami Heat tonight at 7:30. You can hear it right here on the Fanatic. I sat down with Nick Nurse yesterday. We did the media thing, and we talked about Joel Embiid. And he practiced a little bit yesterday, Ray. He got on the floor. He was there. People saw him. He took, like, shots.
Basketball? He played it?
He played it,
No.
yes. Not against competition. It was no contact, so there was no opponent. So I assume the way Nick Nurse described it, they were running sets or walking through sets. I don't know if he was running. Offensive sets against no defense, practicing defensive rotations against no offense, non-contact, all of those things. So we're going to get into a lot of that in a little bit. Sat down with Nick Nurse in his office after practice was done, had a good one-on-one conversation that we will play for you at 1 o'clock today. So stay tuned for that. And Nick Nurse, now I'll tell you, I'll tease it this way. I did an interview of kind of an overview of the season and what he may see moving forward. When you do the beat thing, when you're the beat person, you're asking, where's Joel Embiid? What's up with Robert Covington? All that. I'll let you know where all that is of what he said also. But my interview with him was more of an overview of what this season has been so far, what it's been like for him, and moving forward, what he may be seeing. On your Eagles front, Josh Sweat, he gets a little contract negotiation thing going on there. I thought that was interesting. And, Ray, I want your take on this. On the morning show in the previous weeks, with this Josh Sweat, you get Huff, all the other stuff with Hassan Reddick. Is he going to be traded? Does he want to be traded? All that. I think the Eagles are in the best spot to just stand pat. Okay, you're on the contract, Hassan. Maybe we'll approach that during the season somewhere down the line. I don't mind if they just stayed put right now the way they are. And I don't know what you would get for a Hassan Reddick. One of the things I heard over the weekend said maybe a third rounder. I'd rather him play here disgruntled this season and perhaps losing him next season. I don't think that'll happen. I think they're going to renegotiate with him. I think they're all going to be here. What do you think the percentages are on that, Ray?
That would be a beautiful thing. I don't think it's a very high percentage on that one. I really don't.
I'll make a my dollar to your 50 cents.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right?
good.
Because that's how confident I am.
Here, but yeah, that works too.
All right. That's how confident I am that I think it's going to remain that way. But what does it mean? What does it mean with what the Eagles did with Josh Sweat? We're going to talk about that later on. Kenny Pickett. Okay. I think the natural reaction would be, a backup quarterback. Okay, you give away a few draft picks, but, late ones. Okay, it's a backup quarterback. I have a different take on it. I actually kind of like it, Ray. I'm into it. I don't mind Kenny Pickett coming here as a backup quarterback. I don't mind what the Eagles gave up. We'll talk about that more. Where are the Eagles right now? Have they done enough? Have they done enough going into the draft for you? If you look at this team, are they in a spot that if you forget about the last 6 or 7 games of last season, are they in a spot that makes you comfortable right now? Are they in a good place? I think offensively, yes. Obviously, where we have to look is on the defensive side of the ball. So we will talk about that. Don't forget Brian Westbrook. He's going to be calling in with us at noon today. So we'll talk to the great Brian Westbrook. I put this on Twitter last night, and I didn't put it just because he's coming on. And I've told him this, and I've told the other guy this. He is one of my 2 favorite Eagles of all time. And the other one is someone that you probably never even heard of. Wilbert Montgomery, another running back.
All right, come on. We're going to start with the age jokes, Bob? Really?
Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bob, come on.
So we were doing a pregame show, right? Eagles pregame show. It was me, Andrew, and Pat. And Wilbert's there. So I go over to him and I just introduce myself and say, hey, we'd love to have you on air, whatever. And I said, I just want you to know, like, you and Brian Westbrook are my favorite Eagles of all time. He turned around and walked away.
I do remember that pregame. I was there. You guys were like,
that's right. You were there. I forgot about that. Not good. Your Philadelphia Flyers, weird game. Boston's a good team. You go in there. I'm watching it. I was at a party on Saturday night. Violation, by the way, on my friend that was having this party. We walk in around 7:30. You have Flyers playing Boston, Sixers playing Charlotte, and he has on, like, Connecticut Marquette. That's a little bit of a violation. Right? So I had to say, yo, Mark, go get the remote and please play this thing right. For the rest of the night, between periods, long timeouts, he was back and forth. But weird game for the Flyers. 2-2 game turns into 5-2. We remained watching the Sixers mostly. The Flyers make a really nice comeback, try to get it evened up, winds up being a 6-5 loss to the Bruins. They've now only won 5 of their last 14 games, Ray. So kind of a weird way that they're going right now. You wonder, is the talent or lack thereof catching up? Is there an end-of-the-season type of Tortorella's really worked them hard, and maybe this is what it's coming to? We have a request into the Flyers. I really want to talk to John Tortorella this week. I am so intrigued by that guy. And we have some great sound bites from him from yesterday's Flyers Carnival, which is an annual event that is just terrific. What it does for charities around the area is just phenomenal. So we will have some cuts later on with John Tortorella. 10 days, Ray. 10 days till the opening pitch for your Philadelphia Phillies. And who is throwing that opening pitch?
Zach Wheeler.
How about that? Rob Thompson tells Zach Wheeler this weekend, you are my day one starter. It ends a streak of Aaron Nola being your opening day starter. I agree with it. We had a talk on the morning show a couple of weeks ago, and we made some predictions. And I predicted that Zach Wheeler would be the starter. The boys said no chance because he doesn't even have guts enough to take Kyle Schwarber out of leading off. How do you think he's going to take Aaron Nola away from being your leadoff hitter? Or, I'm sorry, opening day starter. I love it. I love you put your best pitcher out there day one. It's kind of a no-nonsense type of approach that is being given by Rob Thompson. You would think that maybe Aaron Nola has earned it with his years here. But guess what? You got paid. I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to look at the better pitcher. I'm putting the best pitcher out there on opening day, Zach Wheeler. Totally okay with it. Absolutely okay with it. So those are the talking points that we're going to have today. We want you to join us here, 610-632-0975. But, Ray, what I want to get started with is this Sixers team. So, like I said, kind of a tough win against Charlotte during the weekend. I think any win that they're going to have from here on out is going to be tough. That's just where they are. I talked to Nick Nurse yesterday about Kyle Lowry. I think that's a situation that was thrust upon them. I don't think, and Nick will tell you in the interview when we play it at 1 o'clock today, I don't think this is what they had to envision or were envisioning when this season started, that you would have to get a Kyle Lowry out there giving you significant minutes in order to try to get by. And Nick Nurse said it among the media scrum when he and I were talking off record, on record. He says it all the time, just got to try to snatch wins. That's where you are right now. And even games against Charlotte, the lowly Charlotte Hornets, you have to snatch wins. And that's just what it's come to. And I don't know, Ray, I'll ask you this. I talked about identity an awful lot with this team when Joel Embiid went out. Can you grab some kind of identity when your star player is out and you have a young guard, shooting guard, having to carry the offensive load, which I don't think is ideal. Nothing against Tyrese Maxey. I just don't think NBA teams can really win like that with guards like him having to carry the offensive load. But where do you feel they are now? Have they gotten anything good out of this team since Joel Embiid has been out?
I think you've gotten some roles that you feel like might be more defined. You mentioned Lowry. I'm a little concerned in terms of the amount of minutes he's playing, just because I don't think he came in here with the thought process of this is going to be, like you said, a heavy rotation for him, a guy in your starting lineup, someone that's playing as much as he's playing. I think we all kind of came in with the idea, oh, well, here's a great leader. Here's someone that, is going to make the plays that help you win, but is a rotational piece. And I think he's taken a much bigger step forward. So I think that's been a nice revelation for this team. But when you talk about identity, I'm concerned that the identity of this team right now is, all right, give Tyrese Maxey the ball and get out of his way. And that's pretty much what it feels like they continue offensively. That's the best they're getting. What's something I felt like I already knew but has been confirmed to me is Tobias Harris. and his ability to step up for this team, because it just continue. It's one of those things where it's like, it's Tobias time, and I just am underwhelmed every time that we get to, it's time for Tobias to step up and play a bigger role, play a max player role for this team.
And another kink in the armor. Now he's down with an injury. As I said earlier, as we asked Nick Nurse yesterday about him, no, didn't practice. No, it was one of those definitive without saying so. We're not going to see him for a little bit. It's unbelievable the amount of injuries this team has incurred this season. When you go to the Tyrese Maxey concussion, when you go to Tobias Harris has missed games. More so, if there was one thing about Tobias Harris through the years, it's his availability. You can question his scoring and all that, and we've done it ad nauseum. But he's usually available. Well, now he's out with an injury. DeAnthony Melton, I don't a back that keeps reoccurring. That's scary to me. So I don't know if we're going to see him, and I think he was a huge piece to this team. I thought he was a great piece coming off the bench who could score a little bit, and with a second unit to have a defender like him, that's always a great addition. He's been shelved for a while. Robert Covington, after practice yesterday, was shooting a lot, and I wanted to go over and talk to him, but I didn't get a chance to because Nick Nurse and I went back into his office. But I'm watching him shoot, and everybody's, that's cool. But it wasn't that. It was almost like a three-point shooting contest. You know what I mean, Ray? Where you don't leave the floor, really. It's just kind of set shots, just, that. So, to me, it wasn't something. There wasn't a big sweat on his jersey or anything like that. So, I think he's still probably, I think it's safe to say maybe weeks away or somewhere in that vicinity. Where does he fit in as far as a rotation goes? Back end, maybe a specialist, maybe a guy you put in there to get you some defense, or if you need a three-point shot, something like that. But all of the injuries that have gone on with this team, I don't, even though Joel Embiid has been injured so much in his career, I don't remember a team of the 76ers going through this many injuries.
It's kind of incredible. Just the number of injuries they've had to overcome, the number of things we've seen this season. And again, you mentioned it with Embiid, but you think just how wacky and weird this Sixers organization's been over the last decade in terms of the storylines. And I think there might be no one in this city that's followed it as closely as you with the number of different storylines that we've gotten out of the 76ers and the weird things that have happened. In a decade of weirdness, this one sticks out in just the number of injuries, the number of times we've been talking about, now this person's down, now this person's down. The chance things, the fact that, you have a guy that gets concussed. You have everything with Embiid again. You have just looking at this season, Oubre was down for a while. Batum was down for a while. Covington's been down for a really long time at this point. Melton in the back now. And that, you mentioned the back, that one terrifies me. Because he comes back and immediately, he gets into some heavy minutes and it's, we're going to have to back off him. He's not even going to play.
2 games or something like that, and he's shelved again. And it's funny, the guys that you mentioned, a lot of the guys that you mentioned about their injuries, Ray, they're older guys. Nick Batum's 35 years old or so. Robert Covington's 33. Kyle Lowry, though not injured, he's not going to be able to go as much like you were talking about, as much as you say. Although Nick Nurse said something interesting about Lowry yesterday, saying he thinks his shot is coming back. And I didn't press him on it, and you'll hear it in the interview. I didn't press him on it, but I think he meant that he's getting in better shape, so his legs are getting better, so therefore his shot might be coming back a little bit, something that they can count on. But when you're talking about these guys that are injured and you're talking older players, Nick Batum, and people roll their eyes like, Nick Batum, if you're counting on him, it's a disaster. Nah, he's like a glue piece. If you have everybody out on the floor of all the talent that you've accumulated on this team right now, he's a glue piece, and he's probably a starter that you need out there, and he plays a lot better when Joel Embiid's on the floor, and he gives you just the things that you need, the little things. So it's the question I want to put out to you to start off the show today. It's the question that I have to ask you, that I asked Nick Nurse yesterday, that you'll hear later on. What's the identity of this Sixers team right now? Have they gotten any without Joel Embiid? And if he comes back, is it something that you can relate to him? Hey, Joel, here's this team. With you, we found this. With you, this gets better. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have some opinions, which we'll hit on. Also, does the fact that Joel Embiid was on the floor yesterday, and I'll get more into it. Does it make you feel a little bit better that he just might be here for the last maybe week or so of the season? Let me know your feelings on the Sixers. Whole lot to talk about today, right? We also have to get into a little NCAA tournament. Congratulations to the Drexel women, who are the only local team dancing this March in the NCAA tournament. Rare times that we don't have one of the locals in the tournament this year, just the Drexel women. So we'll hit on all that and more. It's Middays with Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
76ers in Heat tonight. I'm right down. This update is.
Nothing slows my little...
Breaking sports news happens in Philly. We have you covered. Live updates, press conferences, insight, perspective, and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a great Monday morning. Want to tell you that the 10 o'clock hour is brought to you by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows. Plus, make no down payment with no payments and no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. So, Ray, yesterday, a celebratory day for us as Irishmen, St. Patty's Day. I know you had to do a little bit of work. Was there any fun involved for you in
Doing this
celebration?
job is always fun, Bob.
Were you green head to toe yesterday?
No, actually. I was orange because I was over at the Flyers Carnival. So I was rocking the orange and black. I also had the little Temple shirt on underneath, hoping that I'd bring some help to the Owls. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, no juju for them yesterday, unfortunately.
Tough to play 5 games in 5 days.
Yeah, we did I went over to Sixers practice earlier, and then we went and did like a lunch/dinner at a popular place over by us. I'll tell you what, I told my wife this. I have a rule when I go to a restaurant, so when you and I go out to eat at some point, if we're not sitting at the bar, I have to face the door of the restaurant when I sit down, when I'm with my family. I have to. I don't know why. I just either I need to see people coming in and out. God forbid anything bad happens. I want to be able to see, all of that. I could have sat at where we went yesterday. We got a bite to eat. We were in and out in probably, hour and a half. I could have sat and watched people all day yesterday. St. Patrick's Day brings out the craziness in people.
Saturday in the city was fun. A lot of people watching. I imagine some people were watching me as well. It was a good time to be had by all.
I asked Ray as we spoke yesterday, getting ready for today's show. He said, I've just taken it easy today. I said, oh, really? Why? He said, well, I started at 11:45 yesterday morning and didn't get home until very late. So you pulled an all-dayer.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
You have to. Like you said, Irishmen, they were really bold putting the two of us together to start this the day after St. Patrick's Day.
Don't know what Scott Masteller was thinking when he did this, but this is what you get the day after. David in Ben Salem wants to talk a little 76ers. David, how are you, buddy?
How are you, Bob? Good morning. I want to congratulate you and Ray on this new show. I'm looking forward to hearing you guys every day, Monday through Friday.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Hopefully we will be here every Monday through Friday.
Oh, without a doubt. You were all, obviously, you and Phil Jasner are two of the best 76ers writers ever, and I respect your knowledge about basketball. And I want to talk Sixers. And it's tough right now. It really is. I mean, they possibly could lose these next 5 games. Obviously, you said earlier about going on the West Coast, which is not going to be easy.
No, not going to be easy at all. I mean, this is a team that is depleted, as you know, by injury, David. And now you have to take this on. And this being, you have a Miami Heat team coming in here for better or worse that you're fighting for a top 6 playoff spot. Then you go to Phoenix, Lakers, Clippers, Kings, come home 2 days later to face the Clippers again.
Yes, without a doubt, Bob, and that's the problem. I just don't think there's enough games left in this season right now. And obviously what you're telling me about Anthony Melton, he might just be shut down for the rest of the year with his injury.
I got to tell you, it wouldn't surprise me at all, David, and I appreciate the call. I hope you have a great week. It wouldn't surprise me at all. As you said, Ray, backs. And it's a shame because as I'm talking to Nick Nurse yesterday and just thinking of all the things that are going through his mind, and I stated this on the air last week, this is a really tough time. It's been a tough season. Joel Embiid goes down, all the injuries that we've talked about. Frustration would be the number one word that would come into my mind. But with Nick Nurse, I don't feel that, and some of the knowledge I've accumulated about him, I think he's a mad scientist, Ray. And I think something like this, while he doesn't love it, is, he's rubbing his hands together and saying, all right, now I'm being dealt this hand, watch what I can do. I just think that's the type of coach he is.
I think so, too. I think everything that, if you go into his past and look at the background that he has, whether it be the G League, whether it be, coaching in Europe and some of those leagues where you're just cobbling together a roster and you're just trying to see how much you can impart on that system before the roster inevitably changes. I think part of him loves the challenge. I think part of him looks at this as like, you know what? I can see if something we did 15 years ago with this team that was nowhere near as talented, but I was able to work through this system. I was able to get them to buy into this and make that happen. I think part of him loves that challenge. I think ideally, in his mind, he takes this job with the healthy Embiid, with especially everything that's happened this season, hoping that some more of his pieces would be healthy. But I think there is a little bit about him. I think it shows in the fact that he was a part of that Rockets organization back when they used the G League team, pretty much the D League at that point, to experiment with everything they wanted to try with basketball. He was so receptive to it in that time that I think right now getting to experiment with the roster in the NBA and get to experiment with something before the expectation of his star coming back, I think he likes the challenge just a little bit.
I do. I think he was described to me before he came here and then talking to people behind the scenes down at the Sixers about him. It just keeps coming up. Oh, the guy's a basketball nut. He can't get enough of it. And you got evidence of that this weekend. There was a story in the paper about him going down, watching G League game, Kai Jones taking that in. We talked about it with him yesterday when the media scrum took place. And I was talking to our very own Dee Lynham, who covers a lot of those G League games. She said he's down there quite often. I go into his office yesterday to do an interview. We sit down on the couch and the TV in front of us. NBA game that was on at 1 o'clock. I think it was the Bucks and somebody else. The guy just can't get enough basketball. And for a season like this to play out the way it has, I think it would drive any other coach crazy. I think it drives him to say, what can I do with this now?
Yeah, you want a guy that doubles down. You know, that you know what? The cards are stacked against me. I could get up from the table, walk away, and say, you know what, this was year one here. There's no one right now, I think, that's pointing the finger at me to say that this is my fault. You know, maybe we pack this one up. Maybe we think about what we could do down the road, because the way this has gone, this is not falling my way. This is not the type of season I envision. He's sitting there, and he's like, you know what, I'm staying at the table. And, you know what, give me a few more chips. We're going to try and see what we could do here. And I think that's one of the things you respect the most about a coach like him, where even the bad situations, the situations from our vantage point that frustrate us, he's like, you know what, I could create something great out of this. I could find something that clicks. And maybe it doesn't click today, but now that we did this today, a year from now, what we learned here today can go forward. Because usually when you hear coaches start talking about learning, it means that the season's not going well, but I actually believe it when it comes from Nick Nurse.
And that's the question that I want to pose to everybody. What about this Sixers team have you found out in a good way while Joel Embiid has been out? Now, you might have to look hard, and it might be not easy to find at all, especially when you consider their record. Nick brought it up yesterday. What are we, like 9-19 without Joel Embiid this year? I'm very aware of that. But now the but is you have to try to find some good things, extract some good things from this group that you have surrounding you without Joel Embiid. So, Ray, I'll pose it to you before we go to the callers. If there is something that you've extracted in a good way from this Sixers team while Joel Embiid has been out, what is it?
I think it's something certainly to build on moving forward. I think the idea of Maxey, he's always going to be the 2 to Embiid in the sense of when you build this roster, when you put the Sixers together. But I think you start to become more comfortable in what eventually you have to give him in terms of a contract, because ultimately he's not the failing piece of what's happening right now. He is still night in and night out trying to be the engine that drives you, and ultimately just the amount of talent, number of injuries around him. Like, to say without Embiid is unfair to the other things they've had working against them. Would they be, you know, above 500 without Embiid? No, that's not the way this is constructed. That's not the way this goes. But the fact that you start to feel more and more comfortable with him as the 2 in a year where you have to make the sizable financial commitment to him, that is an encouraging sign to me. And then some of the vets, I would also go with that, because I like watching Nico Batum play basketball. I do.
Do you really?
I do. I enjoy
That's
it.
surprising because of a team, and I took some kickback on this, on something that I said on an earlier show about him being the glue. And it might have been during the time, I think it was right after Embiid got hurt. And Batum was sitting out a few games. And I said, like, he's kind of a glue piece. And people came back at me like, are you serious? If you're talking about this Sixers team, you went to Nick Batum first? No, not first. But I do believe if this team is fully constructed, he is a really important piece. I'm surprised that someone like you would appreciate someone like that, because it doesn't stick out in the box score. It doesn't stick out game to game. You don't notice him all that much unless you're looking. What is it about him that you admire so much?
One, I think he is very, very comfortable in the role he plays offensively for this team, where I think if you find him just out on the perimeter, he's going to move into the space created for him. I think that allows a little bit more of the free-flowing on offense. I think with a healthy Embiid, his ability to get the ball into Embiid as Embiid works, either be it at the elbow, be it, trying to get himself set up on the post. That's what I've liked about Batum. Without Embiid, he still brings you, at 35, I did not think he was going to be as good defensively as he is. I did not think he still had the legs to do that. And I think that's something that's impressed me, where maybe it's not that, I'm watching Batum because it's the night that Batum's going to score, 15 and pull down, 8, 9 boards. No, it's going to be a night where he gives you at least the spacing offensively you're looking for, the veteran presence, both defensively and offensively, that I think go into helping a team win.
It's interesting. The way you kind of described him was the way that Nick Nurse yesterday described Kyle Lowry. The game against Charlotte in particular, only had 5 points. He said nothing's going to stick out. He said, but I can't tell you enough how many times he got us in the right defensive places where we were supposed to be, how many times he got us offensively going. Nick Nurse talked about in the media scrum about there's going to be 6 to 8 possessions in a game where you're going to look at your team and say, what the hell are we doing? And that is getting less and less when you have a Kyle Lowry out there. But like you described, Nick Batum, offensive rebounds, getting second possessions. How many times do we see him go up in the middle of a scrum and bat a ball to an open, where he can't grab it? I think he makes Joel. Everybody talks about on the team, and rightfully so, how much easier it is to play with Joel Embiid. and I brought this up before. Marcus Morris and I sat down for a while and talked about it. But I think Nick Batum makes Joel Embiid's life easier when he's on the floor also.
Oh, absolutely. I think just because you have a guy on the perimeter you have to respect, one, and a guy on the perimeter that he's not beating you off the dribble, but you don't need that when he can find the crafty ways to get the ball into Embiid. Like, you're looking for him to facilitate for Embiid, and I think the way, whether it's an entry pass, again, into the post, or whether he's finding a way to just fit, defense is going to have a ton of attention around Embiid. You can find it to him at the elbow. That's, to me, perfect for what you have. A guy that can knock it down from beyond the arc, guy that's going to be able to go in there, fight for boards, like you mentioned, and then on top of that, hey, maybe he'll knock down a few instead of just all the time passing into Embiid.
So we haven't even mentioned the name that I would, if I'm extracting something good from this team while Joel Embiid's out, we haven't even mentioned the name that comes first to my mind. So we'll hit on that when we get back here. Also, I want to ask you the question, too. Are you okay with where the Eagles are right now? There's been a lot of moves, free agencies, specific moves. If you look at it, I'm going to present it to you in a way to look at it. I am enamored, Ray, I don't know if you've heard, I am enamored with the way people watch games, with the different ways they think about ways to look at things. I swear I want to write a book on it one day. I'm going to put out there to you to look at the Eagles this way after the plethora of moves they've made over this past week. And is it enough? Is it enough so far? Where do you think they're going, and are you happy with where they are right now as they head into the draft a few weeks down the road? This is Middays with Bob Cooney here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The best show ever. Opinion and conversation on Phillies hot sports topics.
Welcome back to Middays. Bob Cooney, Ray Dunn producing. Glad to have you with us on our first show here as we get things done on this beautiful Monday morning. Great weekend. Yesterday used to be my favorite day, one of my favorite days of the year, with Selection Sunday and all, and watching championship games on Saturday and Sunday. I mentioned it before, Ray. College basketball's kind of lost its luster with me a little bit. Now, you're knee-deep in it, announcing the Temple women's games as you did terrifically all season long.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
Oh, just a must-listen radio, absolutely. Also, graduate of Temple into the Temple men's team. What a ride they had. That was cool. That was
weekend.
That was a cool weekend. But yesterday, and it was funny, I was texting back and forth with some of my friends at the Daily News. Selection Sunday, Ray, I'm not kidding you. Our deadline was probably 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. We would, without being asked, if our shift started at 2 or 3 in the afternoon, we would all be in there by like 11 in the morning. And we would have crock pots, and we would bring things in.
That's awesome.
Because we wanted to be there. Like, we wanted to work that day. And we were going back and forth. My old boss, Pat McClune, Eddie Barkowitz, who we're going to have as a guest on this show later on this week, talking about the betting world. But going back and forth about just funny stories. We did thumbnails on all 64 teams that got into the tournament. And, sometimes it entailed calling a coach at midnight on Saturday who just won his conference championship to try to get something good for the thumbnail. But it's lost its luster nationally to me, right? Home teams love going to all the games, as many games as I can. I'll go see any of the Big Six schools play. Even some of the local Division III teams love going to games. But, yeah, on a national level, I don't know if it has for you, but has it lost a little of its luster?
I think it has, and I think it's an interesting conversation because, and this is also coming from the perspective of someone that worked on the women's side, I'm almost more compelled because the storylines are more compelling. You don't get to know these people. You don't necessarily get to develop, I can tell you for people out there who were fans of college basketball, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you grew to love or hate some player, and you knew where they played, you knew who they were, and you were ready to go in March. Oh, I remember that guy from last year. That guy was the reason my favorite team, or that guy was the reason my bracket didn't have, you had that feeling about it. And I'm speaking about that as if that was, the era in which I grew up in. But I think that's why for some people it's lost a bit of the luster, because I don't think you really grasp as many of the storylines, like where you are talking about, like 11 a.m. on that day, you're ready to get there because you're ready to write about fill-in-the-blank team. You're ready to see what the matchup's going to be for that team because you're excited about it. So much has changed, and so much of it is movement. And there are things that I, agree with in the fact that, the athletes absolutely, if you don't think you're in the right place for you should be able to go somewhere else. When it comes to NIL, you absolutely should be able to get yourself that money. But with all that change, I don't think we've gotten to a standstill point where you start to feel the connectivity that you once did for people to the sport itself. And I think that's what's changed for college basketball. For people my age, I think it's a little different because you're just kind of wrapped up in the lore of, Selection Sunday, like, this is great, this is great. I think for someone of your age, I think that's part of the reason, because you don't build the storylines as much because it only takes, it's like a 1-year baking period instead of 3 years where it's building towards something, building towards a matchup for a lot of those older players.
The greatest story coming out of yesterday, the two greatest stories from this weekend that I became familiar with. One, Seth Towns from Howard University, 26 years old. He's in his 8th year of playing college basketball. Now he had, 3 medical red shirts or something? Mm-hmm. Has been to 3 different schools. From 2016 to 18, he was at Harvard. Then spent a year at Ohio State. Now he's at Howard University. 8 years. So they show the graphic and everything. He's 26 years old. They show, year by year what happened with him. And then the last line, which was my favorite, Ray. He still has another year of eligibility. I love it.
That COVID eligibility, man.
I absolutely love it. So you have that storyline was one of my favorites. And then you got to go with DJ Burns from North Carolina State. Dude's listed as 6'9", 275. My man hasn't seen anything under 300 in quite a while. There's no chance in hell. But what I love about him, he's got a little, panache to his game, right? Little look away, bounce passes through the lane for a back door, throwing up left-handed and right-handed hook shots. Like, he's fun to watch. And I root for guys like that.
I am so hoping that they at least win a game so that we can get the real national drive behind him so we all can experience that together. Because I need him to be one of, like, the folk heroes of March. I need it so bad. It's so fun to watch him play. And like you said, I don't think he's gotten under 300 in quite some time. That North Carolina barbecue, I think, served him well.
Yeah,
I think he enjoys it down there.
I think he's a regular at some places down there. Now, I've never been to North Carolina State, so I don't know what it's like around there, but I'm sure he's got a plate waiting for him wherever he walks in. I love that.
Raleigh's a nice town.
And it made me laugh because when Charles Barkley was playing at Auburn, everybody, the fat guy Charles Barkley. Barkley looked nothing like this guy. Nothing. And this guy's carrying it around well. I love people like that. I root for him. I hope NC State, like you said, I hope they win a game. It is a shame with all the locals. We talked about Temple, of course. Villanova, they're in a weird spot. You know the alumni's not happy. Mike Sealski wrote a piece this weekend of where do they go now. A lot of questions circling around Neptune. The Ivy League championship was weird. Princeton gets knocked off on the first day. And Penn is an outsider looking in, but knowing Stevie Donahue, their coach, bigger and better things are coming for them. They got hit hard before the season even started by losing the nation's second leading scorer, transfers to St. John. And the other team, St. Joe's, good showing in their tournament this weekend. Great game on Saturday. They lost 66-60, but just a back-and-forth game all the way. Billy Lang doing a great job there. I just feel bad. It feels like it's lost its luster, and I think maybe Ben agrees with me. Ben, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, buddy?
How you doing? Sorry, let me take you off speaker.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Thanks, buddy. That's all right.
My thing is the whole one-and-done aspect of the college ranks is over time it's damaging the game in so many ways, and I think that March Madness is a big thing because, I'm 39 years old. When I grew up watching the Grand Hill, Christian Laettner Duke teams with, that 98 UNC team that had Antoine Jamison and I mean, there was like 5 or 6, all-star NBA players on it. Back then, these guys were on the same team for 2, 3, 4 years together. They were going up against the opposing Duke team that were together for 2, 3, 4 years. So these rivalries, I mean, these players really knew each other. They knew, where they were going to be on the next play and stuff.
And even more importantly, Ben, we knew them. We knew who they were, and thanks for the call, Ben. I got to run here. I got a break coming up, but that's the shame of it, Ray. We knew everybody, and I've told this story a million times. When I was at the Daily News and Dick Girardi, John Smallwood, and I would be asked to predict our first round of the NBA draft, we were given a paper and a pencil. Sit down and write who you think, and boom, we did it. You just can't do that anymore. But I still look forward to Thursday and Friday. I'm going to talk with our sales team when we're done here today. I want to try to get out on the road, Ray. Let's get out on the road for either this Thursday or Friday or next Thursday and Friday so we can watch some afternoon basketball while we're doing our show.
We will have to talk. You know that we still will have to talk.
I just want to be with the peeps, man. I want to be with the crowd. I want to see the reaction of it. All right, you're crystal clear, Ray. You're crystal clear. All right, when we get back here on middays, I do want to dip into the Sixers just a little bit more. Tell me, and we need some interaction here. Tell me what you think came good out of Joel Embiid being hurt, if anything. If you don't find anything, let me know that. 610-632-0975. Also, we're going to dip into some Eagles. Where are they sitting now with all the moves that they made? And then a little bit down the road, we have 12 o'clock, Brian Westbrook's going to call in. 1 o'clock, my interview with Nick Nurse that I did yesterday. And the guy that intrigues me most in this city, John Tortorella. We have some great sound bites from him that we want to get some reaction from you a little bit later on. This is Middays with Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Middays. I'm Bob Cooney, along with Ray Dunn producing. Glad you joined us here on our initial show. Great to have you. Great to follow John and Andrew this morning. Good listen that was. I got a lot of texts this morning, as I told you, Ray. People asking me, what was it like to sleep in today? No, I was up for the beginning of their show and
really
for a little while before. Yeah, it's probably going to take a while to get used to it. Like you're still on that I'll sleep as long as I can kind of stage of your life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's about how that works. This is the perfect shift for that. Yeah, it's just like I am at the last possible second of being able to lay in bed. I should probably get up and get to work.
You are you're very transparent in your appearance to me. So you came in. We went to lunch last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You came in on Friday, and I took one look at you and was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think you went home from the time that you and I went to lunch until you probably got home that night.
You would be wrong. I did stop home.
Oh,
then again, we were in my neighborhood.
Something?
We were in my neighborhood, so it doesn't really mean much. No, I did. I'm big on getting to sleep where you can get it. So I saw a nice little break in the action after we got lunch, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna grab an hour nap, and I did that.
All right, good move. Naps are I used to say overrated, but when I worked, and I didn't realize I did this. I just got done working 8 years of this 6 a.m. shift.
Yeah, that's wild.
So it was, I have to say, the weirdest part about today, starting a, air quotes, normal day of work, was driving to work in the light. It was weird.
I love that that's weird for you. It's funny to me that that's weird for you. Because it's true. It is weird. It should be weird, but I can't think about it any other way. You know, it's just normal for me. It's become normal for me. I got to be honest. Starting to do middays, it was more because I was doing so much nights that it was weird to leave here while it was still light out. For me.
Right.
Starting 6 months ago, whenever I started producing here at middays.
Yeah. So is midday probably your favorite shift to be here if you have to do the grind? Middays isn't bad for you, huh?
Oh yeah, it's a lovely shift.
Well, I'm glad that we got
excited.
you at your best.
There was one holdup because they were like, you're gonna work with Bob. I was really confused. They were like, you're gonna be around Bob. You're gonna help Bob a lot. Bob's gonna go talk to nurse, and I was like, am I gonna be like in work, patient here for Bob? Am I gonna be helping him out? They're like, no. It's not his old age. We actually want you to produce for him.
Oh, whoa.
Okay.
I got a text from a friend that said, you better battle anybody there that's making fun of your age because stop bringing it up. So I'm going to stop it now. We're not going to talk about the age difference between me and you.
That's okay. Yeah. What's about, 10 years?
Don't call me Pop-Pop. I won't. And look at you doing well for the youth today. So I get in this morning, Ray, nowhere to be found. I look at my text messages. There's one from him. You were talking to the youth this morning, trying to guide them through this crazy thing of life.
Yes, I had scheduled to talk to my high school during their career month, and was scheduled this morning, and I was like, yep, that's right, I am scheduled this morning, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure Bob's ready to go by the time he gets here because, I was busy talking to them for about 40 minutes. Great group of kids.
Nice.
Springford High School. Love them.
I love when you share your knowledge, Ray, because there's an abundance of it
to
share.
That's great.
I believe so, yeah. So we have, it's funny when Ray and I got together, when we knew about this show coming up and all. This is how great Ray is. I always have and John Kincade has talked about it on the morning show. I always have, people can't say it except on YouTube, a binder, a book. I always am writing notes. I probably go through 3 to 5 huge books a year, constantly writing notes with ideas or something that I just want to remember, all of that. Ray was traveling last week with the Temple women's team. I guess you had some spare time on your hands. The dude writes me a 5-page email about different ideas and stuff for the show, and ends it with, "Hey, sorry if I'm paraphrasing, if I'm overstepping my boundaries and not telling you what to do, blah blah blah." So I immediately get back to Ray. I said, "Look, dude, We're in this together. It's cool. Any ideas you have you want to throw my way, I love it. And Ray has some phenomenal, fun ideas. And I think I have some really cool ones, too, that we're going to be sharing with you as this adventure goes on. So we'll have a lot of fun with that. Don't forget, later on today, 12 o'clock, the great Brian Westbrook is going to be joining us. Can't wait to talk to B. West. And then at 1 o'clock, I sat down with Nick Nurse yesterday for about what is it, Ray, like 10 to 15-minute interview? Something like that? 10-minute interview. Just talking about the overview of what's going on with the 76ers, how it's been for him during this year, and then a little bit of a look forward about where things may be. So, as I told you before, it wasn't the sit-down, where's Joel Embiid, what's going on then? I'll fill you in on all that. Joel Embiid did get on the practice floor yesterday. Non-contact, got some shots up. Nick Batum was really happy to see him out there. Campaign really, they spoke of it, happy to see him out there, as was Nick Nurse. So it looks like that is progressing a little bit further, which is good to hear. The plan has always been to hopefully have him back for the last week of the season and then go into the playoffs. It doesn't appear that that's not the plan. Nick Nurse wouldn't say, he said specifically, I don't have a timeline. I guess he's been asked that pretty much every day. But so that's where you sit with this team right now. And it's an interesting time with a real tough schedule coming up. Tasty Cake Dom wants to chime in on the Sixers. Tasty Cake Dom, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Bobby. This is going to be a great show. You know, I love you, and you and Ray are going to raise good egg, you know.
He's all right. I'm still getting to learn him a little bit, Dom, but he's all right so far.
You guys will be great together. Bob, you said positive or negative, my thoughts on the Sixers, right? That's what you said? I got a word for you for them. Without Joel Embiid, my word is soft.
Interesting.
Watching them get killed on the boards time and time again. I mean, I feel as though without Joel Embiid, they got pushed around a lot.
That's a great point, Dom, and that's, you had toughness down low before, with a Marcus Morris, obviously with Joel Embiid being that rim protector and all. You take all that away down low. You're right. And how many times, Dom, it drives me nuts, do you see another team get so easily to the basket against the Sixers? Yeah,
it just drives you close. I wanted to tell you one more thing, Bob, real quick. I've watched more what you were saying about college basketball. I've watched more college basketball this year than I have in the last 5 or 6 years. I thought that Big Ten championship game yesterday, Bob, was a fantastic game.
Yeah, I only saw a little bit of it, Dom, because we went out to – I wanted to celebrate a little bit of St. Patrick's Day. Hey, Dom, listen, I hope your health is good. Please be a constant caller here on midday shows because you know how much I love talking to you.
I'm in with you. I'm always in with you, Bobby.
Thanks, Dom. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, we went out yesterday. I told you earlier, but we wanted to go between lunch and dinner to try to get something to eat so that try to avoid the huge crowds. So when we went out, it was right at the beginning of the Temple game. Get to the restaurant, sit down, and Temple's getting pretty well whacked. By the time we got done and got home, it was I got to be honest. I watched the end of the golf, which was really good. The Players Championship yesterday. Are you into golf at all, Ray?
I enjoy sitting down and watching it. I can't tell you that I'm going to go 10 golfers deep. I don't have a card for you where I'm like, this is the guy I think's winning this weekend.
Sure.
But I'll enjoy sitting down to watch it when it's on. That's more I'm a casual when it comes to the golf game.
Yeah, Sunday to me is I like relaxing Sundays, and as much as I love basketball and all that, I didn't watch, besides the Temple game yesterday, I didn't watch much basketball at all. So I watched the end of the golf, as I said. That took me right into Selection Sunday. So I watched Selection Sunday up until 7. Then I just did a recap from 7 to 8 of what happened during the day. I guess ESPN went back and forth to places and stuff. And then at 8 o'clock, I had to go to my Sunday 8 o'clock show, which is Tournament of Champions.
Ah.
You know what that is?
No.
On the Cooking Network.
Oh, wow.
That's right. They get the best chefs together, and it's a tournament. It started as a field of 32. Last night you got down to, I don't know, are they at the Elite 8 or something? I don't know. But, yeah, so that's my place to be at 8 o'clock on Sunday nights, Ray.
Oh, so that's like appointment viewing for you.
It is, unless there's unless one of the locals is playing or a big game's on. Yeah, I love watching cooking shows.
Really?
That, and I can watch someone catch anything coming out of the water at any time of the day. I think that's whether you're crabbing, tuna, you had wicked tuna on last night. Anything that something goes into the water and you pull something out, I could watch that all day long.
You and my dad on that one. My dad is the same way. You give him, there's times where he just pops on the headphones. He's got the iPad in front of him, and he's watching someone fishing somewhere, catching something. He loves that type of stuff.
Yeah. Have you ever gone fishing or done anything
Plenty of fishing. Yep. My dad's a big fisherman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
all right.
done plenty of that.
I have not grown up. We didn't do fishing at all. I go crabbing with my brother-in-law. He's got a boat down in Maryland, and I did that since I was a little kid. But it's not crabbing where you just drop one of those little cages down. We run a 1,500-foot trot line.
Oh.
So you prepare it the night before. Every 3 feet, you tie on chicken necks that you get from the store. Every 3 feet. So you have a hook on the side of the boat. You go and you lay the line out, and it's held down by anchors but held up by like empty water bottles and stuff. And you have a hook on the side of the boat. You lay down the trot line. You go back, start at the beginning. You pull up the line, put it on the hook on the side of the boat, and you just ride down real slow. As it comes up, the chicken necks, there's the crabs hanging on them, eating them. Boom, put them in the boat. Boom, put them in the boat. You go through the line, then you measure them as you're coming back, because point to point in Maryland, I think it's 5 inches. And you measure them. You keep the keepers, throw back you can. Then you go back and you just keep doing it over and over and over again, Ray. I'm doing it this summer. I'm going to bring you some crabs.
Wow. Yeah, please do. I did not
You're
think.
a crabsman?
I am a crabsman. Enjoy just about anything seafood-wise I'll eat.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I could sit down and pick crabs, and it drives my wife nuts. I could sit down for 8 hours, and if you just keep bringing me beers, I'll sit there and pick crabs all day long. Love crabs. All right, so where is your love right now? Not only for the Sixers, we talked about them a little bit, but let's get into your Philadelphia Eagles. And Ray, I'm anxious. You and I didn't talk about this weekend. So they make the Josh Sweat move. My reaction when I heard it was, huh. And I'll bet you that's kind of what everybody's reaction around here was. What does this mean? I want to hear your interpretation after I give mine. And if you guys have a different one, 610-632-0975. Look, I'm telling you now, we're the show that loves talking to people. So please, don't hook us to another show that didn't like to take callers or anything like that. Ray and I love to talk to the people. 610-632-0975. We enjoy phone calls. Bring them in like I told you at the beginning of the show. I love talking sports with anybody in the city of Philadelphia. But my takeaway from Josh Sweat was, huh. And then it went to, I think I was right. I really believe that they're going to stay status quo with this edge rushing situation where you have Huff, where you have Reddick, where you have Sweat, and they're also going to try to bring in Nolan Smith into the action a little bit. I think this is going to be your 4 edge rushers going into the season. Your thoughts on what this contract, you can't call it an extension. What is it, just a renegotiation?
Yeah.
What was your thought on it?
So I love the idea. If you end up being right on this, Bob, I will be thrilled. I will give you a hearty handshake. We'll go grab a beer, and I'll celebrate the fact that this is the pass rushing core that you have. Because
I'll tell you what, even if it doesn't come to fruition, let's do that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds good to me. I don't mind that at any time. But the idea of bringing this group together, and you have Huff, you have Sweat, and then Reddick, really I look at that Huff and Sweat group of this as 2 guys who have been best in deep rotations, who do really well when their snap counts are not exceeded. Now, obviously, you're looking to see if Huff can step into that role, but having a Sweat, having a Reddick with him, and then Nolan Smith, you're also looking to just be a contributor at the NFL level, which you've seen flashes of it, but obviously we're looking for a full season of it. Throw Brandon Graham in there for when he plays, and that's a solid, 5-guy setup in terms of who you're cycling through to really rush the passer. I like that in theory. The problem is with the way it was kind of out there about the way they were shopping around, whether it be Reddick, whether it be Sweat. When they bring back Sweat, I have an uneasy feeling about that, what that means for Reddick. Because I kind of saw Huff as, okay, great to bring him in. He also seems like he projects it as the kind of younger edge rusher that they're going to bring in, especially with the news that they might move Sweat. Okay, you might still have Reddick. You might be able to have Huff, and they might try and supplement that. Because I imagine they're going to look to find something within the margins to supplement that, to really increase their pass rush. For me now, I'm kind of concerned that Reddick's the odd guy out in this situation because I don't know if they're going to put that much resources into that line. Now, they still have plenty of cap space, so maybe, I could be just reading too much into the reports already this offseason, but it does feel like they wanted to make some sort of a shift there, and they weren't going to stay status quo there.
So the most surprising thing that this team could do right now in that situation for you is to extend Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just listening to how we speak at the Combine, it didn't sound like a guy that was, I am cool with keeping cool with keeping Reddick on my front. Like, that just kind of seems like it was a guy that was like, yeah, he's nice.
He has to play like that. You can't go out all gushy goo and, have a guy come in saying, listen to what you just said about me. Give me money. You have to kind of play it level-headed and cool and all of these things. And maybe, just maybe, a business move doing what you did with Josh Sweat, maybe that's kind of like a, Hassan, take what we're offering you. Or you see what I just did. Now, the one thing about the Josh Sweat, it's not carried over for years. It's just redoing him for this year. So there has to be meaning behind it. More meaning behind it maybe than we know. I think I do. I just have this strong feeling, Ray. I think on a random Wednesday afternoon, we're going to hear the Eagles have just restructured Hassan Reddick's contract. And we're all going to go, what? Cool. They're good. They have 3, maybe 4 if Nolan Smith comes around, legitimate edge rushers. Because a great line, and Ray, I didn't say this to you. I said it on the morning show last week. A great line that someone put out there, and I apologize. I think I saw it on Twitter, was, would you rather have a shutdown corner who can shut down one wide receiver or a great edge rusher who, when he gets a sack, shuts down every wide receiver? Maybe that's Howie's line of thinking.
It does feel like that's the line of thinking. You think about the most successful seasons they've had in, the Howie 2.0, 3.0, whatever 0.0 we are with Howie at this point. The pass rush they were able to get, like the one big play that defense makes at the Super Bowl you win is the fact that the pass rush got home. And you think about that front and what they had there, and then your corners were Mills and Darby. And no disrespect for the two of them.
Oh, no, you can disrespect them if you want.
No, it's okay. I'm not on the first show. That might be a tomorrow thing. I'll save that for tomorrow.
All right.
But when you look at those corners, you're not saying, wow, they had 2 shutdown corners. No, they had 2 corners that played well enough with the pass rush they had. Do I think that last year's, well, I guess not last year now, that 2 years ago, looking at that Super Bowl team, do I think that Bradbury and Slay enjoyed better seasons because the pass rush in front of them was what it was? Absolutely.
Well, look at all the career years you had. You had career years from almost the whole defensive line. And because of that, I think, your corners, both of your corners were great. C.J. G.J. was playing his first year at safety and had a phenomenal year. He was more of a slot corner before he came in to do that, and I made a big sting of it. Like, everybody thinks because he has an attitude he's going to be a great safety. He's never played it before. Turns out I was completely wrong. He played a great safety spot. You had linebackers that were sufficient, even though they weren't household names, I think because of that defensive line. If Howie's going to go back and copy anything, I think the writing's right there on the wall.
The one interesting thing about this is the Nolan Smith PR tour right now. Like, they seem to be pumping him up just a little too much for me to believe that he's not going to have a bigger role than what he had a season ago.
That's okay. Because if you look, I'm not going to get into numbers. Well, they played this many snaps and all. But I'm sorry, naked eye me without numbers behind it, Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat looked a little worn down to me last year.
100%.
And schematically asking to go one-on-one without a lot of scheming, without a lot of games. It just seemed like they were asked to go one-on-one with guys 50 pounds heavier than them an awful lot of times. Look, you're still going to play a big part of this defense, Hassan. We're just going to get you a little bit more rest. Hey, at 29, if I'm him, I'm all for it. So we'll see how that all plays out. But where are you feeling on the Eagles? Where they are right now, are you feeling okay? Because I'm going to put this to you. If the last 6 games of last year didn't happen, say the Eagles made the playoffs, won a game, and then lost a game, and whatever the disappointment that was. But if you didn't have that last six games where they went 1-5, last 7 they went 1-6, would you feel better about this team going into next season than you do now? Because that's a big stink to try to get rid of. But they've made a lot of moves. So maybe we should be more optimistic on this Eagles team. What are your thoughts on that? 610-632-0975. This is Midday Shows with me, Bob Cooney. Got Ray Dunn producing. We'll be back in a couple of minutes for you here at 97.5.
sports' insight, perspective, and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Coming up at 2, the best show ever with Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Batalico, and Jen Scordo. Right now, it's Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Middays with Bob Cooney. We're really back this time, Ray. Yeah, it's one of the greatest things about having this shift for me. I get to see everybody.
It's great.
Like before, I never saw the afternoon guys because a rarity. Once in a while, they would have like a noon meeting, and they would dribble in as I was getting ready to go out from the morning show. But now I get to see the morning guys, get to see the afternoon guys. Of course, I get to see you, which is always a joy.
It's okay. You don't have to lie to the people on the first day here. Show of honesty on this one.
Everything's puppies and rainbows today, Ray.
Okay, sounds good. We'll talk tomorrow.
Yes,
we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. But it is one of the great things. I enjoy it. I said all the time, like one of the great things about it was 8:45 coming in, being ready for when you guys went to break in the morning, getting to hang out with you guys, and then 12:45, Jen will pop in here. We get to talk to Jen, go out probably around the 12:12, go talk to Tyrone, Ricky. You get to see just about everybody. So
you can hold my hand through this. I've never done it before.
Oh, okay,
so
I'll take
you'll
you
have to
through
lead me around.
This is now weird.
Yes.
With the changing in times here, with some breaks.
Yes.
Now I don't know exactly how my morning, meetings are going to be held, when, where. I'm still getting used to it myself.
Yes.
A lot of change.
A lot of change. And bigger change also. 6 o'clock tonight, you get the great Pat Egan. So he'll carry you through. He's doing 6 to 10 now, hosting that. Sent him a text this morning as soon as I woke up. I said, I miss you already. And he put a little heart on that, and then he sent some complaint about something. Pat likes to complain, not about here. Something, like his kid was up all night or something like that.
Right,
So
yeah, he just want to let you know that that's what you would have gotten had you seen him at 5:55.
Yeah, and I saw that an awful lot. 11 a.m. hour, it's brought to you by Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Also, Fanatic Monday. It's presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Bad news this weekend, Ray. And I had to share it with my best friend since I was 5 years old. We're still best friends now.
Wow.
So he has a house down the shore. And so I called him a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, I think we're going to spend the week at your place this year. We've rented other places, whatever, but we thought that was best. So he set it up. Fine. We're all good to go. I'm out back during the real windy days this week. Well, a panel of our fencing blew down. So I had to go out because the house that we bought is an older house that we fixed up on the inside. We're still doing stuff on the outside, so it's an old fence. So I go out and I'm hammering, putting some nails in to hammer it back up and all. As I'm reaching over on a ladder to try to hammer over the fence, I have my hand on a panel, and boom, that panel breaks. So I was like, oh, God, my wife saw it. I go, and she's like, we probably have to get a new fence, don't we? And I said, yeah, we're putting perfume on a pig in this backyard unless we, get a fence. So we're working things out. We're like, yeah, it's probably not the best idea to go down the shore. So I call my friend Glenn right away, and I'm like, hey, listen, I just don't think we're going to be able to swing it going down the shore this summer, for that week or whatever. So why don't you try to put it out for somebody else? The coldness over the phone that I received from my best friend of like 50 years, it almost brought me to tears, right?
Wow.
Almost brought me to tears. So I'm telling him, he's like, yeah, well, maybe I can get somebody else. All right, listen, let me go. So I was outside at the time. I was putting wood on our wood holder, whatever, and I stood there for a minute just looking off into space. I can't believe this is going to come between us. And then about 10 minutes later, I collected myself, and I got okay. I wiped the tears.
Right, of course.
And I started loading the wood back on because it had fallen over a little bit, and I had to restack the wood. So I started doing that, and my phone beeps, and I look at it, and he's like, yo, I hope you don't think I was upset. The dog was acting crazy in the back of the car, and he was like, they were driving somewhere, and that was that. But, yeah, don't worry about it. I already got somebody. So I had 10 minutes of total angst over a best friend being upset with me this weekend.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
It hurt.
I'm sure it did.
As you know, I wear my feelings. I love all you guys, and you know that. And if I don't like you, you know it. Or if I don't like a situation, you'll know it. I was glad I was alone because I didn't want anybody in my family to see the tears that welled up in my eyes.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah,
I mean, seems
but
like a
you know
little much.
what? I think he felt bad. He not only did he text me, he called me like 4 more times this weekend. Called me this morning on my way to work. Had a text at like 5 o'clock from him. Good luck today. Can't wait. So yeah, I think he knew he was in the wrong. But
Yeah, I think he clearly knows he's in the wrong.
yeah, I'll just have to push it aside.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'll let you know if he calls Josh back there and issues an apology
It's okay.
formally to the station.
I'm almost fully over it. Almost.
I'm not. I just found out about it. It's going to take me at least 24 hours to get over it. We're
Okay.
a team now here, so now I'm going to be fighting
you
your
got
battles
my
for
back?
you. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Glenn, I haven't been friends with you since I was 5. I'm disappointed in you today.
Yeah,
Real disappointed
it's
in you
just-
today.
Just a little insight into my life, and it was that was the only thing that was a little upsetting. Otherwise, it was a great weekend, a wonderful weekend, beautiful weather. Got together with friends on Saturday night to celebrate St. Patty's Day. Did a little work yesterday, and then got out to get something to eat. You, however, didn't partake at all yesterday. You didn't celebrate St. Patty's Day even a little bit.
I did a little bit.
All
I
right.
did Post Flyers Carnival. I made a walk over to a nice place I like in South Philly, and I might have partook a little bit in watching the Temple game and enjoyed my afternoon. So, yeah, I enjoyed St. Patrick's Day. It's hard for me not to enjoy St. Patrick's Day. I mean,
Yeah.
the YouTube audience can tell that I enjoy St. Patrick's Day, and anyone I saw on Saturday was like, oh, yeah, you're Irish. And I'm like, all right, listen, I'm actually more Italian than Irish. I just wear the Irish more.
Yeah,
So,
you do wear Irish well.
Yeah, I do wear Irish pretty well.
So I'm glad you brought that up, and I apologize. My YouTube friends, our YouTube friends, so happy to join you with these different hours. Happy to see a lot of familiar faces on the YouTube chat. Called it up during the last break. So love all you guys. Love seeing you out. And, hey, if you want to call into the new show, give us a call. We're here, 610-632-0975. The question that I put out there earlier, a couple of them. One was about the Sixers. What good have you extracted from this team while Joel Embiid has been out? Maybe you haven't, but I got a great text from my buddy Eddie Barkowitz, who is a betting guru, and we're going to have on the show later on this week. I think on Thursday I'm going to grab him to come on because he's got some great betting stories. So he sends me, he goes, hey, you want to know the thing I've learned about the Sixers without Embiid? It's to bet against them. They're 12-20-1 against the spread without him this season and 7-13-1 during the latest injury. Maybe we just put some money in some people's pockets, right?
We might have. I do think that's kind of tough. I don't really want to encourage you to go gambling against the team. That really starts to conflate the mind and the heart there.
Well, look, if they're getting 7 points in a game, and you bet it, yeah, no, you can't bet it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I can't really. I understand. Maybe you're keeping money in people's pockets because I think that's better. You just don't bet on them.
Let's say that if they're giving 6 in a game and you bet the other team and they only win by 5, the Sixers, okay, you can do it that way.
No, I'm saying once you start really mixing the whole gambling
Okay.
with the results, you're going to find yourself more upset with the team than you should be. Like, Andrew used to do the parlays, and I always used to know, like, we did one with Tobias during the Hornets game that preceded this past Hornets game. And I had a bad feeling that if Tobias didn't show up in that game, that Monday morning I knew exactly who at 10 o'clock we were going to be talking about. I was like, we can't really, it's like church and state here, a little separation of them. We got to remove the emotions from some of the money here because you're going to get even more emotional if it comes down to your money. Thankfully, Tobias had a good game and we were all fine. But
Hey, my dad didn't give me a lot of advice growing up. He just wasn't like that kind. It was kind of more of a lead by example type of thing. He did, though, at one point when I was, getting into, I guess, my early 20s or whatever, say to me, listen, don't ever bet with your heart. Make sure you bet with your head. I was like, damn, cool, Dad. All right, give me $20. I'll put it on whoever you want. But, yeah, that was the only time he really gave me any. And I was never a huge bettor. Obviously I do the FanDuel stuff now, which I love. But I was never a huge bettor like you are. Like, that's, the reason you're so down and out is because you have that problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. So we hope you take care of that. But, thanks to everyone on the YouTube page. I'm sorry I didn't mention you earlier because you guys know how much I love you. And here's a guy that I love even more than anything in life, maybe, Karate Mark on the line with us. Mark, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Bobby, basketball with a ray of sunshine. This is awesome.
What's going
up,
on?
fellas? Happy Monday.
To you, too. How'd you celebrate yesterday? Anything going on with you and your beautiful wife?
I don't do the St. Patrick's Day thing.
I didn't think you would.
Quite Irish being a Gallagher, but it does nothing for me. Hung out with the wife yesterday. We actually did a little birthday celebration with her and her sisters. They all kind of got birthdays in around the same time. So I cleaned the house and then was cooked for. So all
good man. Good man. All right, so, Mark, the question I have out there, and you being a season ticket holder and an unbelievable Sixers fan, is there anything you've extracted good out of this team since Joel Embiid has been hurt?
I just told your producer there's not one person wearing a Sixers jersey this season that I'm mad at, upset with. We got, for the first time in multiple years now, a group of people that want to play basketball. Outside of injuries, outside of mishaps that we can't control, we've had a group of men that want to win, that tried hard, that gave us effort. The season's still not over. We still got the big man on deck. He might come back and pull off a magical run. Who knows? But we have got, the past few years, drama, effortless basketball, people that don't want the ball in their hands. So as a fan, I've gotten effort, and this has been an awesome season. Not one person wearing that jersey I'm upset with.
I got to ask you this, Mark. This is pretty cool insight that I haven't heard from anyone else. Why? Why is this, you said group of guys? Is it the group of players that they've assembled, or is there another reason?
I think it was addition by subtraction. Get rid of drama, and you bring in good attitudes, and you got your two superstars in Joel and Maxey, so you got a group of people surrounding them that believe in what they're doing. You bring in a coach that people believe in what he's selling, and it translates to good attitudes and winning basketball. But then you take away the star, and it translates to losing basketball. So what can you do?
Mark, great insight by you. I honestly hadn't thought of that. I'll see you down there. I don't think I'm going to go down tonight, but I'll see you when they get back from the West Coast.
I'll be there tonight. I'll see y'all soon. Have a great day. Congrats on the new gig. Love you guys.
I love you, Mark. Thanks. Appreciate all of that. How about that insight? He just feels a different. Now, he and his wife, Alicia, sit right near, sit down low.
Right.
They are involved. They get there early. They watch warm-ups. They talk to people. How about Mark saying that this is just a different attitude of this group of guys? Now, I was trying to take him one way on that. Why is it? If this is the case, what Mark's saying, why do you think it is?
I think because some people were able to remove expectation before the season and, what's going to happen with Harden? Well, you got guys back for Harden. And then, they looked exciting early on. And then Embiid goes down. It's like, well, what are you going to do without Embiid? You're in a first year of a new coach. Your expectation, I don't think, for people was as ramped up because you had so much uncertainty coming into the season. And because you are still in that, honeymoon phase of your coach, you still have, a newish group of guys where – it's just fun to watch these guys play basketball, figure out who they are on the basketball court. You don't necessarily have the weight of expectation where, you're raining down on them of how could you, what's the deal with this? What's the deal with that? I think they kind of get somewhat of, I think from some people, somewhat of a pass for where it's at because you don't have that weight that you had of previous seasons.
Interesting. When Embiid went down, I thought it was just kind of apathy. I thought that's what it was. And people were like, oh, here we go again. And that could be the case. But then Mark brings a whole new light to it. Like, no, I like these guys because, as he said, there's no drama. And neither one of you have said the name I was kind of searching out of why this may be. And I'll bring it to you when we get back, the reason I think it may be. So we're talking some Sixers here. Where do you feel with them right now? It's getting closer. It appears Joel Embiid is getting closer. Out on the floor yesterday for a little bit. A lot of happy faces down at practice. So lean in on that. Let us know what you think. 610-632-0975. Also, good news, bad news out of the Phillies. I don't want to say bad news. Good news, concerning news, something like that out of the Phillies that we'll hit on when we get back. At the top of the hour, 12 o'clock, Eagles great Brian Westbrook. One of my favorite. He and Wilbert Montgomery, my two favorite Eagles of all time. He'll be joining the show at noon. And don't forget, 1 o'clock, my interview with Nick Nurse that we conducted yesterday, a little one-on-one. Between now and then, the phone line is all yours, 610-632-0975. This is the Midday Show with Bob Cooney.
The best show ever. Side perspective and your reaction. This is 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. This is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back on this fine Monday morning. Hope you're having a great day. I know Mondays suck, but hopefully we make them a little bit better for you. Here at 97.5 The Fanatic Midday Show, Bob Cooney here. We got Ray Dunn producing. And as our T said, the place to come for breaking news. Ray, this is huge.
Now, breaking sports news.
It doesn't even warrant this.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You teased it. I'm going to hit that button.
That's
You
right.
give me the opportunity to hit that button.
You're
I'm
a
hitting
good
that
man.
button.
So during the break, Mike Vito, what's Vito's official title? Do you know?
Broadcast coordinator.
Oh, okay.
I
Well, he
believe.
coordinated this with me. He came up and goes, did you hear Simmonds is retiring? I said, Ben? He said, no, Wayne. So the Flyers are going to sign Wayne Simmonds to a one-day contract so he can retire a Flyer. And my reaction was a little weird. I was like, get out of here. And then he's like, no, if you think about it, he was part of the Mike Richards trade, which was a long time ago. I liked watching Wayne Simmonds, and I one of my memories, I covered the Flyers. Our regular Flyers beat writer went on vacation for a couple of weeks during the season. I have no idea why, but I covered the Flyers. John Stevens was the coach at the time, and I went into the locker room, and I couldn't believe how thin Wayne Simmonds looked. You know, because he was the tough guy. He was the fighter on the team and all. But, yeah, so Wayne Simmonds is signing a one-day contract with the Flyers so he can retire a Flyer. I guess it's more so we figured it out because the fans loved him.
Yeah, I think he's a beloved figure. I think especially when you're trying to get back some of the fan base that had, kind of, I don't want to say checked out, but kind of moved further away from the Flyers. I think for a generation closer in age to me, they resonate with the toughness, what Wayne Simmonds was about. He was exciting for you for that time. So I think that's probably why you do this one. He's a fan favorite. One-day contract. You get to honor him. I think it works.
All right, good. Nothing against Wayne Simmonds at all coming from me. I just, you put people in an echelon or, in certain echelons in your mind, and the first thought that came was, really? Does he warrant that? But that's cool. You've talked me into it, as did Mike Vito. So good on Wayne Simmonds. Yeah. Here's hoping he has a very happy retirement. Lenny in Philly wants to talk about the Sixers. Lenny, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, excellent. Well, let me see if I can sum this up. I was talking to your producer. Wonderfully, this is the first time I'm speaking to you. I'm happy to be on the show.
We're happy to have you.
And, here's real quickly. I think we were talking about the Sixers and what we feel about them now and this part of the season with them under Nick Nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my view of the Sixers is based on my past experiences of frustration of not getting past the second round. Now, the frustration didn't really increase. It wasn't the Brett Brown era. During the Brett Brown era, actually, we got to the second round with the guy Simmonds, and so we got there. The only reason we didn't get past that series, as you know, because
Lenny, you're breaking up on us. Sorry. If you can get to a better cell, give us a call back later. I'm not sure where Lenny was going on that, but I'll tell you, Mark really got me thinking when Karate Mark called. And here's a guy that is as in tune as a fan, pretty much, of anybody I know, Ray. And for him to come out and say he loves this team because there's not a guy on that team that he doesn't think is there every night trying. He's alluding to other teams where it wasn't. And he loves this team and thinks that, should they get fully healthy, they'll be okay. I love Mark's thinking. I don't think it's a thought that's shared by many. Do you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to think, do you find this team easy to root for? Is, I guess, where he comes from. I think he finds genuine joy in rooting on this team. I think he enjoys rooting for them. It's one of those, talent versus vibes kind of things where it's this group is not the most talented they've had over the last, 6-7 years with Embiid. I guess with Embiid healthy, you'd have to see, but I think top-end talent, we all know that's not – they don't have the top-end talent we've seen in previous years. But is it a group of guys you just feel, happy rooting for?
Yeah.
Oh, Maxey's doing it all with a smile, and Maxey still hasn't hit that big payday. I'm waiting for the way the fan base reacts when he gets paid.
That dude is just so happy to be playing basketball.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, Nick Nurse and I were walking into his office yesterday, and he's shooting foul shots. And, he's just got a guy underneath rebounding. I don't know if he just has happy thoughts running in his head, but, huge smile while he's shooting foul shots and messing around with teammates and all that. We'll get Lenny back here to finish up his Sixers thought. Lenny. No, maybe not. I don't know. We can't get Lenny. Lenny's having some phone troubles here. But, yeah, I just think Marks – can we get him now? Lenny.
Yes.
Hey, there you go. Go ahead. Finish your Sixers thought real quick.
Okay, real quick. So where we are now is I just believe that with Embiid's the way he's been playing, and, of course, the early part of the season where he looked really good, he was scoring his 40 points early part of the season. But that, to me, was sort of scary because he was really getting his points, and we were relying on the two things that was working with the coordination with Maxey and him. But my fear here is we're going to fall into that series of getting back to the playoffs where we're going to need other players to step up to the package. And because Tobias is becoming he's been inconsistent in that factor. One game he's getting his 20 points. Beginning of the season, he was scoring 20, but then he dropped back down, and then now he's disappearing again.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have Rivers there Rivers would go to the media and say, hey, listen, I got to talk to him. It gets him to his head a lot. Well, that's old news now. So I predicted, based on that, and even when Embiid scored the 70 points, I said, I know he got 70 points, but I hope they're not thinking on that. And it seems like Embiid is looking for his points because he played super hard in the first two quarters. Now, I think it seems to me that it's a Nurse thing, but I'm fearing that we won't get past the first round. I'm thinking we won't get past the first round. Because
they're not going to get anywhere. Thanks, Lenny. We're not going to get anywhere if Embiid doesn't come back. I mean, you're probably talking play-in tournament. You might be talking that anyway. Surrounding Embiid with some scores is something you're always looking for. All right, when we get back at noon, Brian Westbrook is going to join the show. Can't wait to talk to him, number 36, B West. He'll be calling in at noon, so stay tuned for that. This is the Midday Show here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
involved in the pass game. I think Kellen Moore is going to be one of those coaches that says we need to use all the strengths of the players around us. And that's a big part of this offense, being able to get Saquon out in space and allow him just to be explosive in space, allow him to do what he does with the football that he's done his entire career up there in New York with the football, and allow him to be explosive. To me, those are the most important pieces. Allow him space and hand him the football. When you have players of his caliber, you don't try to go crazy and try to say, you know, Saquon, do this and do that. You just hand him the football. You give him the football as much as you possibly can, and then you just allow him to be himself.
Is this team right now you lost Kelsey, obviously, Fletcher Cox, and you're going to have some more movement as far as when the draft comes up, Brian, but is this team right now, do you think, better than they were going into last season?
Well, when I look at, you know, from the linebacker position, there are some upgrades there. Obviously, you bring in White, there's some upgrades there. You bring in Johnson on the back end, Gardner Johnson on the back end. That helps. You need that help there. You got to still solidify that corner position. I think you bring back Darius Slay, obviously. Maybe you bring in a young guy to kind of go along there. So defensively, I think they've gotten a little bit better. I think they really have. Offensively, you know, losing Kelsey, that's huge. We do not know how good this offensive line can be without Jason Kelsey in the lineup. Without that center position who's directing people, hey, we're all going to the right. Hey, you go to the right, I'm going to go to the left. Him protecting the quarterback. We don't know if Cam Jurgens can pull the same way that Jason Kelsey can. We just don't. I mean, so there's a bunch of unanswered questions there. But let's just say Jeff Stoutland, who's one of the best in the business, can figure it out. Now you still have Jalen Hurts, who I believe will come back a much more hungry quarterback, will come back and say, you know what, I need to do things a little bit different. He's one of those guys that can look at himself and say, I need to start with me first, and then we'll figure out everything else. So I believe Jalen will come back better.
Have we
look at the skill possession? I'm sorry, Bob. But
no, go ahead.
Look at the skill position. You can put this group of skill positions up against anybody in the league and feel very confident about our ability to win games based on our skill position. So offensively, I think we've gotten better as well.
So have we underplayed this Jason Kelsey retirement a little bit? Not in the publicity because it's been all over the place. But we say, okay, he's retired. Yeah, but Cam Jurgens is there. Boom, plug him in and go. It's not that simple. Do you think we're going to be noticing that early on, Brian?
Well, listen, if you don't notice that you're missing a Hall of Famer, that means one of two things. Jeff Stoutland is a magician, and he's just much better. We were already saying that he's great, that he's just much better than that. Or Cam Jurgens has come to play, and he's figured things out, and he's been underneath Jason Kelsey's tutelage for the last couple of years, and he's just that good of a player. Listen, Jason Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. He was the best at what he did for a very long time. If Cam Jurgens gets close, I still think we have a very good chance of winning a lot of games. But, of course, you're going to miss Jason Kelsey. This offense is totally different when you have a center that can pull, that can block, that can position block, that doesn't have to overpower people. I mean, Jason Kelsey was so good at so many different things. And as a running back, I have confidence that every time I see him out in front of me, I know that block's going to get completed, and I'm going to be able to move past him, and I can look past that block because I'm not worried about that anymore. I'm looking down the field. You had that confidence when Jason Kelsey was out there. That certainly would change just a bit.
All right, before I hit on your basketball expertise, let me ask you this. You're the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. You have the 22nd pick, somewhere around there in the draft. You don't have to be specific, Brian, but if you want to keep it general or go specific, what would you do there with that first pick that you have?
Two positions, cornerback or linebacker. That's where I would go. I want a dominant force with my linebacker core. And I know they picked up a couple guys in free agency, things like that. But I still need a young guy to kind of fulfill. So I'm looking at linebacker, and I love the cornerback pick there too. Or you probably have to move up just a bit, just to move it around to be able to get the cornerback that you want. But I'm certainly going on the defensive side of the ball, cornerback or linebacker.
All right, now getting into basketball, your 76ers, we put it out there today a little bit. Have you extracted anything good from this team after Joel Embiid went down with his injury? I have a name that nobody has even brought up, and people have come up with some different things. What have you seen that might be good for this team that they've gotten without Joel Embiid, if anything, Bri?
Well, of course, and this is while Joel was in there. So you saw the maturity of Tyrese Maxey. We've seen him. You had to kind of get Harden out of the way so that Tyrese can take his shape, and he's coming to his own. He's going to be a 25-10 type of guy, for the rest of his career. That's who he is. I actually was very surprised by Kelly Oubre.
That's my name.
I thought he was a journeyman, and I watched him play throughout his career, but I didn't think he was the type of scorer that he actually is. He's been kind of playing, shy a little bit throughout his career, doing only what they've asked him to do, 3-and-D type of guy. But now we're seeing he has an offensive skill set that you can do a lot of different things with, which I think will help this team down the road. It's unfortunate what has happened with this basketball team. Of course, you're losing your star. Anytime you lose a star, you take away a big part of your team. And so it's unfortunate that Joel has missed a large part of this, post All-Star game type of play. But I hope that they can get him back and he can be healthy. That's the number one thing. Bob, I dealt with a lot of knee injuries throughout my career.
Yeah.
And they're just hard to come back from. No matter who you are, it's hard to come back as the same player. So I'm just hoping that Joel can come back, whether it's the end of this season or even the beginning of next, as the same type of player that he was throughout his career.
Now, switching it to college basketball a little bit, I started the show, one of my subjects was, Brian, I feel horrible that yesterday wasn't the day it's always been for me. Selection Sunday was one of my favorite sports days of the year. College basketball has taken a huge hit to me. Like, nationally, it's not where it used to be. Do you feel the same way with it, or are you still very, very into the college basketball scene?
Bob, you're going to make me turn the air conditioner, or you can make me turn the AC on, because I get hot when I start talking about, in particular, Villanova and college basketball. But listen, I still think college basketball is strong. What I believe is that we've seen the emergence of the women's game. And for some people, that takes away a little bit from the men's game. But I love seeing the women play. I still love seeing the men play. I don't know that we've seen that dominant player, though. No. We haven't seen the Kevin Durant of this year. We haven't seen the Mike Beasley of this year. Where's the Chris Jenkins? Where are those people that we say, where's the Jalen Brunson? Where are those people that we can jump on their bandwagon and say, but he's going to be a great pro next year? I don't know that we've seen as many of those guys throughout the season. And because of the NIL, because, there are teams that are in different places that have just great players because they can pay them now. Now we have to root for some schools that we traditionally haven't thought of as basketball schools. So the talent is a little bit more spread out. It's just been interesting to watch. We saw a lot of teams throughout the season, Bob, that were high-ranked teams losing to teams that are in their, 12, 13, 14th ranked basketball teams. So it's been interesting. There's been a bit more of parity, I think, throughout the season. It's been great to see that. I still absolutely enjoy college basketball.
People don't know this about you, a lot of people, and I have to tell them, that you were a star basketball player at one of the greatest high school basketball places in the country, DeMatha High School. And your first knee injury, if I'm not mistaken, I think you told me this story, came from a dunk contest you were in?
Yeah, so my first knee injury, I re-injured it in the dunk contest, but I was playing football, and I stepped into a groundhog type of hole. But I still love basketball, and if I could go out there and play every single day, I absolutely would. I enjoy watching my son now play. It's been amazing to watch his growth and his maturity in the game. But, my first love is basketball. Played with some guys that were, certainly NBA players, all SEC players, Keith Bogans, all ACC players, Joe Forte, both who had long careers in the NBA, and Joe played overseas for some time. But, Morgan Wooten at the time was the winningest high school coach ever.
Yeah.
A great coach. Danny Ferry. I mean, some of the best players in our game went to DeMatha, and it's certainly excited to be a part of that, lineage of guys that focused on not only being a great basketball player, a great athlete, but also a great scholar down there at DeMatha.
And I speak for all of Philadelphia when I say we are happy that you chose football, Brian Westbrook.
Me too. I'll be out here, fixing roofs or something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, you might be sitting next to me in the studio. Could be even worse.
yes.
Well, listen, buddy, I appreciate you so much. You know I do. Love you to death, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Bob. Congratulations, and looking forward to all your success, man.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated. The great Brian Westbrook. He's the man, Ray. He's just quite simply the man.
He is.
Yeah. He shares a birthday with my wife, Donna.
Really?
Yeah, so I never forget Brian's birthday. So I always, he's one of the first texts I send on his birthday is to him. And the great man that he is somehow found out when my birthday was, so I get a text from him every morning on my birthday.
Well, isn't that nice?
He's a dude, I'm not kidding you. I remember one of my first shows here, like 7, 8 years ago, leaving the studio and getting a text from him saying, hey, I heard something you said on the air about the Sixers, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, damn. Like, I love that. Brian Westbrook's first love is basketball.
I mean,
that's pretty cool.
He went to a great high school for it.
And I love how he downplayed, oh, yeah, I was in a dunk contest. The guy's 5'8", and he was in a dunk contest. That shows you what kind of great athlete he is. But so glad he could join our first show here today. Love me some B. West. He is the type of guy that when my wife said it to me one time, we went out somewhere, and Brian was there. She's like, your face just lit up when you see him because I love him that much. He's just, forget the football, forget all the accolades and anything like that. He's a great, great dude. One of my favorites on this earth. All right, Ray, big decision made by your Philadelphia Phillies this weekend. And it surprised some, but I loved it. And that is that Rob Thompson came out. He went over to Zach Wheeler and said, hey, you're going to be my opening day starter. Kind of odd for you that Rob Thompson would do that. We know all the numbers, but we also know what kind of guy Rob Thompson is, and he seems to be one that stays status quo, doesn't want to hurt feelings. He's a player's manager. Were you surprised by it, Ray?
No, not particularly. I think Nola had mentioned this previously that he thought Wheeler earned that opportunity to do it. I think when they give Wheeler that contract where it's like this could be it for him pitching in the bigs after this contract, it seems like that's kind of where he's leaning. When the contract signed, there was more short-term high money. I think it's okay. You got limited number of chances to do it. You've established yourself as one of the great pitchers in this game. Almost symbolically, I'm going to give you the ball of like, yeah, you're the opening day guy. You're the ace here. This is, a nod to what you've accomplished as a pitcher here in Philadelphia, and you deserve to take the ball. So I think it almost plays to Rob Thompson a little bit of like knowing what it means to be an opening day starter in the bigs. I think that's almost him paying a little bit of a homage to the last couple of years.
He's doing just the right thing. He's doing what should have been done. You're putting your ace on the mound the first game. Does it make you think he might be doing something else down the line? We'll talk about that when we get back. Also, little reaction to what Brian Westbrook had to say. Some pretty interesting things. Hey, it's Fanatic Monday, and it is presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. When we get back, a little bit more Phillies talk. I want to ask Ray that question. Also, let's dive into what Brian Westbrook said a little bit about your Philadelphia Eagles, because some things were a little surprising to me. This is the Midday Show. Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. 12:29 here on a beautiful Monday afternoon. Got a little colder, though, Ray. It's a beautiful weekend, nice and warm, but the cold stuff's coming back. You like the cold stuff because you like to pile on the clothing, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it makes me
You're not a
appear
sun's out, guns out kind of guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, that feels like you're making an assumption based on my build, and I don't really appreciate that. But yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, you know,
You've told me that before.
No,
I
I've
don't
never said that
assume
to you
anything.
before. Nope.
You did.
You've never
you said
seen
you
the
like
guns
the
out.
cold weather.
I didn't know. See, I like it, the warm better. I like what I wear. I like the way I look better in the cold. I'd rather it be warm, though. I can appear more imposing in colder weather.
Oh, layers gives you toughness.
Layers gives me toughness.
Okay.
You see me without layers on, you're like, well, that's the one guy. If I need to fight someone in here, if a fight breaks out, I'm going to pick that guy.
No, you're the guy we put in the front of the line. Like, all right, you want us? You got Ray.
Yeah. Let's start
see
this.
how it goes
Yeah.
down. Oh, man.
I'll tire them out. You can go now and deliver the knockout punch.
Yeah. All right, don't forget, top of the hour, we have our Nick Nurse interview that we will play for you. A nice little about 10-minute interview that I conducted with him yesterday. 12 o'clock hour. It's brought to you by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirst.hvac.com. Okay, so, Ray, just to hit on this quickly because I don't think it's probably going to be a deep conversation on this. Rob Thompson decides to go with Zach Wheeler as the number one starter. Great. He's going to be your opening day. Good move. That's what he should be. Aaron Nola has been that for, 6 seasons? 5?
6.
6?
18,
Okay.
19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yes, 6.
Okay, so, like a good move by Rob Thompson and one, like you said, Aaron Nola probably won't have any problem with. But it's the right move. Instead of playing I don't want to take him out because he's done it for 6 years. We'll just make him day one starter. So he did that. Any chance at all he does that with the top of the order?
No.
That's why I said this is going to be a short conversation.
No, I don't see it happening. I don't believe it's going to happen.
Do you think there's a time frame? Like if Schwarber isn't really doing much of anything the first, 3 weeks of the season, any chance?
Well, you got to wait till June with Schwarber, right? Because traditionally that's when it works. Like that's what you're going to get, Oh, we know what Schwarber's capable of. We know what he could do at the top of the lineup. If he's hitting 150, will he's actually get on base 300 something? That's what you're going to get if he starts out slow in the leadoff spot. We'll be sitting here, and I can guarantee we'll have the conversation, and people will be calling upset with where he's hitting. But I think that's the conversation you'll get. I think even in a slow start, there'll be probably more to. Now there's a little bit more behind him now. Obviously with Turner, you hope that Turner looks like Trey Turner at the beginning of the season because he didn't last year.
No.
But you would think that would lead to maybe that conversation happening sooner. Of like, hey, does this work? We know it works for winning games because it's done that over the last 2 seasons. But I know for people's optics, it's not exactly pleasant.
No.
You don't enjoy it.
It'll be a talking point through the whole season, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter. I mean, he could hit 50-something home runs and bat 250. He doesn't look like a leadoff hitter.
250? I'll take 250. He was 197 last year.
Right. Well, I'm 250 for him. I'm assuming that's a jump up.
That's
like
a hell of a year for him.
220. Well, it's all about when I hate to sound like them, but it's all about what he does and working at the plate. Like,
yeah,
to me, I'm not.
If he's going to get over 100 walks again.
Yeah, I don't need Schwarber hitting singles.
No, he hit one on. I guess it was yesterday. I was watching the Phillies game, and watching him run it's just hysterical.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
the triple. I dial up that video occasionally.
Yeah,
every
just
time
to get a good laugh.
Well, it's usually when I go for a run. I'm like, man, I am not able to run the way I was able to run. And then I'm like, you know what? It would be funny. Let me go watch Kyle Schwarber race out a triple right now.
Your best years are behind you at 23, huh?
Yeah. No, I think I have a next prime that I'm going to unlock.
Oh, is that right?
I just actually have to get into like
There's a new
routine.
tier. There's a new tier that you have yet to visit.
Yes.
That's
That's what I'm establishing here.
Okay.
I have to run Broad Street at the beginning of May, and I have done no training.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
Hey, maybe we'll come out and cheer you on. I love watching the Broad Street run.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I was a volunteer for it for many, many years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Scott in Hatfield wants to talk about the Phillies lineup. Scott, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, Bobby. How you thinking? I hope you guys are fine today.
We're all doing great. How about you?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. It is a little chilly out there. I didn't mind the warm weather, but I'll take this. This is okay by me.
Yeah, we're all good. So what do you got about the Phillies lineup?
Well, listen, you guys like to watch Schwarber run. I don't. Sorry. I'm going to disagree. I'll enjoy watching him trot around the bases when he smacks a ball at a yard, but The whole lineup thing, I talked to Tyrone about it maybe a couple weeks ago, and my ideal lineup does not have him at the top of the order. Sorry. I disagree. It drives me nuts. The one thing that kind of keeps me from, Thompson being my ride or die is that. Not that I don't like the guy. I think he's a great coach. But I really would much rather have more speed and a good eye at the top of the lineup, and then you can work around that.
Well,
I think that's the way to go, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie.
That's the saving grace if you're Rob Thompson, is that he does have he drew over 100 walks last year. His stat line last year was like you've never seen before at 197 and 47 home runs and 100-plus RBIs, 100-plus walks, over 200 strikeouts. Like, just crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott, but I don't – and thanks for the call. We really appreciate it. It's not going to change. And I don't like to be that fan of, well, you got to live with it because it's not going to change. Well, if it's not for the betterment of the team at some point, and you have no problem changing your 4, 5, 6, 7 hole hitters like Rob Thompson did an awful lot last year, why not? Like, why not take a look at – Tim Kirchin came in here during last baseball season, and it was when Trey Turner was at his worst. And we asked him, like, is this going to be one of those years? And Kirchin didn't hesitate. No, he's going to hit 300 for the rest of the year. We're like, what? He's like, oh, yeah. There's no things in baseball I can say, and this is Kirchin talking, that I can say with such certainty than that Trey Turner will hit 300 for the rest of the year. He went on and hit like 336 for the rest of the year, from that point on. You're not going to get another start like that from Trey Turner. He's not known for that, right, Ray?
Right. He's not known for that. That's not what he's been over his career. And, this is me enjoying some of the nice nuggets of information, the tidbits we get from spring training. The fact that they are taking like a concerted effort looking, and I assume this is something they look at consistently, but I think they're doing a lot in the chase rate and what they did outside of the strike zone, because that's something that crept up, I think, for Trey Turner over the last couple of years and has led to, ultimately what you saw at the beginning of last season. And
right.
The last couple of games of the NLCS, where he ends up chasing, he ends up playing a little bit out of the hitter that you've profiled kind of his entire career. And I think that's been part of the concern with him. I have made the joke here on this show for a couple months now that John Hamm will have some serious answers for me if he goes through another slump, because I was promised a slump-proof player, and I got a really long one last year, and if he doesn't get off to a good start again this year, we will be going to Hollywood to try and get some answers about what happened to Trey Turner. But really, I don't expect it, but I don't feel as certain, as you say, Tim Kirchin sitting there like, oh, yeah, it's going to happen. I wouldn't sit here and tell you, oh, yeah, it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I was amazed and happy when Kirchin said that last year, and sure enough, it came to fruition. All right, we just had on the great Brian Westbrook, and one of his insights to the Eagles – like, whenever you do an interview, things stick in your head. What Brian Westbrook just said made me realize what the most important thing about this Eagles season is. And it happens next month, Ray. Oh, wait, what month is this? March, April? No, it happens in 2 months. The schedule coming out.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Why the schedule? Well, Brian Westbrook, I asked him, I said, can that carry over? Like, when you have a really good season, Eagles went to the Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl, a great game against Kansas City. What were we like as a fan base? All right, here we go, going back to the Super Bowl, no problem. This year they win it. Why? Because it's a carryover of what you felt the year before. So I asked Brian, who's been in those locker rooms, who played many seasons in the NFL, can that carry over? The badness of it carry over? And he said, yeah, if you start losing, if bad thoughts, if bad play starts getting into your mind and you say, oh, this is just like last year. So to me now, what I take from Brian Westbrook, the most important part of the season is the beginning of the season for your Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to have to look at that first 5-6 game schedule and see what it's like.
It's so funny you say that, because I wrote down a couple things, what he said, and I have just highlighted, underlined, in quotes, depends on the start.
Okay.
Because that's exactly, it's something that Andrew and I got into of like, okay, how quickly can you lose it next year? Like, if you start out, and it was based off of, I think someone did the Brandon Staley conversation where, he stays, but they change coordinators, and then you get off to a rough start. It's like, well, you're never going to bounce back from this. You can't regather everyone the way you would want to. And I think that is a genuine fear of mine. Like, September, we see a slumping Eagles team out of the gate. It's like, well, this team's not going to regather it. This team's lost it. And now you're basically in a wasted season. Because you can have all the talent in the world if you don't have to buy it. And that goes back to the coach and what we thought about the coach and whether or not he should still be here. Because that's, again, the concern if you start slow, that all of that really comes to a head and you have a season that just never takes off the way we hope it does.
Yeah, and his talk about Jason Kelce, I think as casual fans, even though none of us is really casual fans when it comes to the Eagles, but I think watching a center and the intricacies of what they do during a game. And Brian, one of the things he mentioned was blocking, but the other things he mentioned was all about getting guys in the right place, making sure everybody's moving the right way, having your blocking assignments for all of the offensive line ready to go. Those are things that we probably don't notice. We can't because we can't hear the center talking during before the snap. But that just shows how vitally important they get this center position right. Now, I've gone on the morning show, and I've said this before, Ray. If you have a phenomenal center sitting there at 22, would you consider, I can't say that, because this guy, Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon, is a really, really good center. If he's there at 22, do you entertain the thought, if he's the best player on the board at that point, all of those things, of picking him, plugging him in at center, and telling Cam Jurgens, no, we're going to get you better at right guard?
Do I? No. Would I be surprised if the Eagles entertained it? No, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they could. That could be an avenue they'd look at.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I would think, you think about the way they build in the trenches. Like, I know.
That's the reason I went to it, yeah.
Brian mentioned, I want a cornerback or a linebacker in the first round. I'm sitting there like, you know what? I could really use a corner in that first round. But am I going to do it for the next month? Am I going to talk myself into a corner when I have a feeling of the inevitability of the way they go for this football team? Yeah, I'm probably still going to talk myself into a corner. But it's going to hurt the same way it does every year when I just realize that's not the way they go about building. That's not the way they go about doing that. So when you say a center, I'm saying, like, please, no. Don't bother. You picked out the center to replace him. He had the chance to learn from the Hall of Famer. I get it. Stoutland wonderful accredited university. Great job there. But they already have had the handpicked center here in-house. And there's so much I want them to work on defensively that I think they still need to answer. Don't give me the center.
Yeah, Brian's right. That's the logical pick. Cornerback, or you go get a line. We know they're not going to draft a linebacker with their first pick. There's no chance in hell. Devin White, does he still have it? I said last week, the thing that I like about Devin White is, yes, we've heard that he hasn't played as well as he did when he started his career, but never the terms lost a step, never the terms because of injury, none of that. It seems like he's trying to do too much on the football field and therefore getting himself out of position too many times from all of the interviews I've heard during the weekend and the things that I've read from people down in Tampa. I think Devin White could be a pretty good pickup. I'm hoping Nakobe Dean is the guy you can pair with him. Everything's good there at linebacker. Okay, maybe you're good to go. You're still going to need some depth there and all. But I thought what Brian Westbrook had to say about Jason Kelce made me think, man, are we just taking this retirement a little too casually as far as it goes to the football field? So we'll have to see how it plays out. Hey, at the top of the hour, we're going to replay. Well, no, we're playing for the first time. But an interview I did with Nick Nurse yesterday, we're going to do that at 1 o'clock. When we get back, I have a couple more little questions for you about the Sixers. Also, I want to fill you in on what Nick Nurse said outside of our interview about Joel Embiid and where he may be, and some other injuries on this team and where guys may be as far as coming back. This is the Midday Show. Here, Bob Cooney at 97.5, The Fanatic.
The best show ever. Opinion and conversation on Phillies
Welcome back, Midday Show. I am Bob Cooney, along with Ray Dunn producing today. Ray, this is the coolest part about, one of the coolest parts, besides working with you, of course, about being here during, like, semi-normal hours. Like, in the morning, you don't see anybody. You know, you get here, I would get here, John and I would get here like 4:45, and we sit here alone together and, you know, dribs and drabs, but there was only like 5 of us for the morning show. And then you don't see anybody else until like 8:30, 9 o'clock. But today, you know, you see a bunch of people. I come in this morning, the place is already jumping. Tyrone comes in, we talk some things over. Jen Scordo's here. Can't wait to see Ricky. Everybody else that's all here. This is fun. I like this.
It was nice. I like the way both you and Tyrone's faces light up when he came in. You guys, I think, did a little fist bump there. Get a chance to talk with one another. Jen walked in, immediately spun, looked in, all excited to see you. You know, it's nice to have you in the regular flow of the day where everyone can see you could bring a smile to everybody's face. It's fun.
No,
it's a
everybody
good time.
brings a smile to my face.
Well, everyone. I think we're all just,
we're all just happy people.
Yeah, we're all just happy people,
Is that
enjoying
what
the
we are
day.
here?
I think that's what it is.
Okay, if you say so. All right, we've hit on a lot today. Talking Eagles, Sixers, Phillies. We also had the great Brian Westbrook on. Why am I stuttering? Brian Westbrook on earlier, which was awesome. And in about 10 minutes, we're going to play the interview that I had with Nick Nurse in his office yesterday. But the one team I want to hit on now, and we have a couple of cuts here from the head coach, is your Philadelphia Flyers. Now, they've had a tough go with things, 5-9 in their last 14 games. Talk about, is the season catching up to them? They've outperformed where many didn't think they were going to be able to play this well in a playoff hunt. May it be catching up to them? It could be. But what I love about this team is that they just don't stop. And even the other night, as I said earlier, Ray, I'm at a party. Guy made a mistake of instead of having the Flyers or Sixers on, he had on a college basketball game. Come on, Mark, you got to be better. But we go back to the Flyers. We're watching that 2-2. Turn the Sixers game off. I look at my phone in a little bit. Flyers are down 5-2. I get home from the party, see that the Flyers lost 6-5. And how about that goal by Morgan Frost? Did you see it between the legs?
Filthy.
Oh, my God.
I haven't stopped thinking about it.
Yeah. That's all I thought about all weekend. But I love that in this team. And I've told you guys on the air, and Ray and I have had this conversation, John Tortorella just intrigues me. I think I kind of get him. And he's not really a get guy. Like, especially if you're like a reporter and stuff, that's kind of a tough rock to crack right there. But I think I get John Tortorella. And one of the things he talked about was how much he loves this team and this locker room that they have right now.
I enjoy coming to the rink every day because I know our locker room is solid. And we felt that, we let some players go. Hazy, Provy, JVR, Tony D'Angelo, really good people. It just wasn't the timing for them to be with us still. And we needed to start over, and that's where we started subtracting from our team and then adding some people as we've gone through not big free agent names, but people that we felt we needed to build our locker room.
Like, I feel like I can relate to this guy. And part of it, I think, Ray, is I went through the process pretty up close and personal and saw all that. I understand what this Flyers team is trying to do. Now, we can all say, oh, yeah, we all do, because they said the word rebuild. It's so much more than that. There's so many little intricacies of trying to rebuild a program that I understand all of the little stuff that may turn people off or people to. I get it with Tortorella. I really do feel like, without talking to the guy a lot, that I have a connection. And I'm making an effort to get him on the show this week because I really want to build on some things that I have in my mind. But another thing he was talking about, and I love this, he compared the locker room a little bit to the other sports teams in town.
I just watched some video of the other teams last night. Sean Walker scores 2 goals for the Colorado Avalanche. But you know what? We did the right thing. We did the right thing because we need to keep on bringing assets in here. That's the stage we're at. Would we be interested in Walks after this year? You're damn right we would be. But who knows where it goes to? It tugs on me, too, to see Walks bury a couple. And we're pretty thin back there right now. But that's part of the process.
All right, yeah, so that was a wrong. Ray says in my ear, people can't hear me. So this is the wrong cut. Yeah, the cut with him talking about the Phillies and the Eagles locker room. Do you have that one, Ray? It's number 4, I believe. But if not, okay, no big deal. Don't worry about it because we're coming up on a break anyway. But so John Tortorella was talking yesterday at the Flyers Carnival. I don't know. As a reporter, he would probably get on my nerves a lot. And he knows it. He knows that he gets on reporters and the, I'm not taking a question from you attitude and what kind of a question is that. But sometimes I agree with him. Like, I never agree with shunning a reporter. Like, if you have it out with them, have it out with them. Call him aside. It's been done with me. I've done it with people. Like, you have it out. You clear the air. Okay, there it is. And then you have to go on with your job. But I just feel like I really do relate to John Tortorella, and therefore he doesn't get on my nerves the way he gets on other people's. What's your feeling on him, and in particular this year, the way he's handled things?
It's really funny you mentioned the reporter aspect of it, because Kevin Cooney yesterday, we were doing the Flyers Carnival, and he said during our conversation with Tortorella, I'm the natural trained journalist in me, and Tortorella had the audible groan of, oh man, I'm about to get a reporter question here. So it's funny to see him interact in that type of setting, because it was, we were a little lower stakes than you guys just lost a game that's, with playoff position, and we're asking you why you did this, why you did that, and it wasn't necessarily like that at the Carnival. But I do understand, and I think it's something that actually Coatsy said to us yesterday when we were talking with him, just about the culture within the organization and about what they've attempted to rebuild and what they've tried to put together. And when they talk about it, and even though we played the wrong cut there with Walker, talking about guys you brought in here that you felt like really showed, and he's talked about this, about showing them how to be pros and how to go about their business and how, he wants to see this program built back up. So I understand what they are trying to do, and I understand what he is trying to do. I thought the other night, and you missed this with, I think, just when you missed the game, when they go down 5-2, he takes a timeout, doesn't say a word. And it was his way of just, hey, you guys know what you have to do. Nothing I'm going to say here is going to change that. Go figure it out. And they end up, fighting back. They don't win, but they fight back.
It's like a father. Sometimes you don't have to yell at your kid or be yelled at by your dad, in your case, to know that they're upset. And sometimes that's even more effective. The silent treatment or whatever it is. The intricacies are so plentiful when you're trying to either rebuild, tank, however you want to label it. I remember Brett Brown calling me not long after he was hired and after we had our first meeting and all and getting to know each other and saying, hey, listen, I'm looking to go around over in South Jersey to different towns to where the players might want to live once we establish some players here. Can you give me some good towns to look at? It's little things like that people don't realize. It's not all X's and O's. And when you're building a foundation, those are the type of things that you're looking to do. And I understand where John Tortorella is coming from. And you just gave a great example. Call a timeout and ignore your team. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that, and the team probably got more out of it than they would of a tongue lashing at that point. So, all right, when we get back, we've been talking about it a lot. Nick Nurse. An interview that I did with him yesterday. We're going to play that for you. A lot of interesting insight, an overview kind of how he's seen this season, and looking forward into what's coming up. This is the Midday Show. Bob Cooney here at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Big game at the Wells Fargo Center tonight. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is
and he said he was more than a few weeks away. I think they're happy with that. Nick Nurse talked about it. The swelling's not in there the way it was before. So that might be a piece that you're getting back sooner rather than later. We asked Nick Nurse about Tobias Harris, who missed Saturday night's game, and he just, not good. Didn't practice today. It was an emphatic, without saying he's not playing tonight against Miami. It was an emphatic he's not playing tonight against Miami, it appeared to me. So, without any further ado, I did sit down with Nick Nurse and talk to him about this season, things that have gone on, and he was nice enough to give us about 10 minutes of his time. I look at this season as almost 3 different seasons that you've had. So you have the team that you were dealt, you have the team that you had after Joel got hurt, and then you have the trade deadline. Do you kind of look at it like that, and how has it affected the way you go about coaching when you have 3 different scenarios like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been 3 or if not 4. There was even a little bit of a moment of, PJ Tucker before the Harden trade. That was a few games there in there too. But listen, I think it's been a little tricky. I think we've certainly shown some flashes of great basketball at times. We back in the old days, it seems like a long time ago, when we were having all those 20, 30, 40-point wins at home and cruising to a bunch of games. Seems so long ago now, right? But listen, you just got to go out there every day and keep working with whoever who's healthy. I think I keep saying that it hasn't been just Joel. It's been the other kind of piling up of injuries. Like I was talking to Hubie Brown the other day, and he says, well, your record without Joel's like, I don't know what he said, 9-19. I said, yeah, it's true. I said, it's a little unfair because there's been a whole bunch of games that Therese has been out. Nico missed a bunch of time. Tobias has been out. Melt's been out for months. Covington's been out. Like, it's been a long list. And I think you can survive 1 or 2 sometimes, but when you're fighting, in the 5-6 guys out that are in your rotation, and you're really scrambling and you're kind of really coaching on the fly.
How do you look to extract something from that, though? Like, it's easy to say if Joel goes out, okay, you're going to look for something from those guys that you can add when he comes back. But when you have all these injuries, are you able to extract some good things from it?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly look at it that way. I think I'm learning a lot about I'm getting a real true evaluation of a lot of guys. And, I kind of break it down into, are they doing the things that we as a team want them to do? Are they running the defensive schemes correctly, and how often are they doing it? Because, you get to playoff time, those defensive schemes got to get run. I mean, you're always going to have mistakes out there, but, if your playoff team is cooking, there's only going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 times where you run the wrong thing, or don't get executed what you need to get executed. And that number was really high in the first month or so of the season, way more than needs to be. So you got to keep whittling at that and working at that. And we're learning about which guys can do it and for how long they can do it. Because defense is, most of it's a lot about hard work first and foremost, and putting out an incredible effort. When you do that, you get tired sometimes. So I still think it's been really valuable to see which guys could expand outside their roles a little bit, which guys couldn't, which guys can focus in and do what we want them to do.
So should you get, say, everybody back for a playoff run?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea exactly of how you want to do things, or then is it, this is the first time I've had these guys together and I have to maybe coach on the fly more so?
Yeah, I think we got a really good idea of what each guy can do. I wouldn't say I'm going through that with a fine-tooth comb. Like I think if you sit here and say we're going to get everybody back, that's super wishful thinking, right? I just don't think you got to plan on everybody being there. So we're going to have to kind of analyze it as we go. But again, I think, and what I'm hoping happens is we get enough guys back that you can get, let's say, a Buddy Hield and a Kelly Oubre to share a position and play that position extremely hard at both ends. So that not that they have to get through portions of the game because they're playing so many consecutive possessions in a row. Things like that, I think, is where I'd be leaning towards.
If you had a word to describe this season, like a lot of people would say frustrating with all the injuries. Yep. I said on the air the other day that the little that I know of you, I think the mad scientist is going on saying, it sucks, but I can try to figure things out. How do you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it hasn't been as frustrating maybe for me as it has been for other people. I lean more towards your thoughts. Again, I'm always looking at opportunities for other guys. and remaining positive. I mean, the thoughts have always been that Joel's going to get back at some point. I still think we'll get a couple other guys back at some point, which will solidify our depth with experience. And I think we can get a lot of work done from there. Listen, my 2019 Toronto team played something like 56 minutes together going into game one of the playoffs. Now, they played a lot from there on, but, you know, there was a lot of kind of moving pieces there with guys coming in and out and stuff like that. So, you know, I think chemistry and connectivity can come together pretty fast.
It's funny. I think society likes to look in the future more than I like to. You know, you'll have a rookie. Oh, is Tyrese Maxey going to be a Hall of Famer? You know, you'll hear stuff like that, and I live in the moment more.
Yeah.
Do you do that as a coach?
100%.
Because, you know, everybody wants to know, is Joel coming back and all that? You've already addressed that. But you have to stay in the moment, especially with this group, what's going on?
Yeah, 100%, and I think it also applies to, like, the standings. You know, people want to talk about, oh, this is a big one because it's a 6'7", 5'8", you know, whatever. And like I just keep saying, man, we're emphasizing every single game, and we're trying to put together the best packages we can so our guys can win them. Like, any game, like, it doesn't even matter to me. Like, I know that Charlotte's going to be a tough game. I just know it, you know, and then I know Miami's going to be a tough game, as is Boston. And if we can play, like, really, really well, we're going to give ourselves a chance. And for the most part, I think we've had a couple of banana, you know, peels or whatever, where we just didn't get out of the gates and got our heads, you know, kind of handed to us a little bit. But even some of these games, you know, at Milwaukee, at Denver, at, you know, some of these, we've really, like, had our chances, given ourselves a chance to win, and I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good for the, you know, the way it's matched up at the current moment for our guys to give ourselves a chance to win and try and pick off anyone we can.
The Kyle Lowry thing, Nick, was when he was looking to come here, I didn't think, okay, it's a guy to come here. He's, you know, you have familiarity with him. He'll bring a great thing to the locker room. Did you need someone to be a 30-minute a night guy there, or is this situational kind of?
Well, we didn't think we did, right?
Yeah.
But again, it seems like that's like we found ourselves like really quickly into having to put him in the starting lineup almost, just because again of, you know, Tyrese goes out for a while with the concussion, missed like 4 games, and you know, so we picked up Cam. We didn't really thought Cam would be a third, but Cam's kind of almost, you know, he started a few games as too. So anyway, Kyle's done a lot. Like, I think last night's a good example of what he's brought to us. I think he had 5 points. He had like 8 rebounds. He had like 7 assists. He had like 3 steals. Mm-hmm. He made 2 or 3 game, I'm not going to say saving, but like clinching, maybe like put the game away with 2 defensive plays in the last 3 minutes of the game. So, you know, I think him and Batum both did the same last night. And you always need that. I think that helps our schemes. He's moving the ball, and I think I don't want to guarantee this or anything, but I think he'll start making some shots too. Like, he played great in the finals last year by making some big shots, and he's just not quite there rhythm-wise to have enough confidence to take them, but he's doing everything else well.
Last thing here, Nick. We all saw how good this team was at the beginning of the season when you had everybody together. It's a totally different team should you get everybody back. I'm not going to ask better, but how much different will this team be when everybody's together compared to what it was at the beginning of the season? Or how is it different?
Yeah, I mean, it's different in a couple different ways, but I think that, again, those guys are going to have to get used to playing with Joel. I think Kyle will be a big plus. Kyle's a good post feeder. He's a really good organizer. I think that's part of the battle with Joel, is making sure everybody else is cutting and relocating and doing the things you need to do there. Hopefully Buddy does his job. I think this should free him up to just kind of do what he does best, which is space and shoot. Mm-hmm. Like again, there's a guy that's stepping outside of his role a little bit. He's having to drive the ball. He's having to play pick and roll. He's having to do a lot more. I think Kelly Oubre is the best version of himself right now, and that's good news because he started out like awesome. Had a really couple months of since the injury he had, didn't know if we were ever going to get him back but I think he's in the best version of himself and continuing to get better, and Tyrese is certainly the best version of himself. He's learning a lot. His defense and playmaking at the defensive end of the floor is picked up too.
So I'll have to ask you, could this team at the end of the season be as good or better as the team you had at the beginning?
Yes, they could.
Right. Perfect. Nick, thank you, man.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate
it.
it.
There it is. Our interview with Nick Nurse yesterday.
How about that, Ray? Can this team be better as currently assembled than the one that started the season so well? Was, 26-8 with Joel Embiid? Didn't hesitate. Yep. Better. Just your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that's true? Do you think with Buddy Hield, Kyle Lowry, now campaign, you take away Patrick Beverly, Marcus Morris, all of those things, do you view this team as better than it was assembled at the beginning of the season?
The mad scientist at work? Yeah. I mean, I think it absolutely can be better than what you had at the beginning of the season. You need shot makers out on the perimeter around Embiid. And even when you didn't have Embiid, I thought when you watched that offense early on after the injury, and yeah, it's tough because you build so much to go through Embiid that, the adjustment was going to be brutal for anyone. But watching as, Pat Bev lines up for, his fourth three of the half was not exactly the experience I was looking for. And I think that's part of what they did at the deadline. Like, I think at the deadline, if you have Joel Embiid, you leave that deadline feeling a lot better about the team. I think the one thing that people left that deadline curious about was the fact they didn't fortify the front court. And I think that was something that still, as you get further along in this experience without Embiid, you wish that they had found something. Was there not a market for it? Maybe not. But I think the team got better around Joel Embiid, that if they have him come playoff time, they are better with him. Again, it's a question of his shape, his health, all those things.
Yeah, I thought Nick was very interesting yesterday in his perspective on the season and moving forward, what he has now. If you have reaction to it, give us a call. Let us know. Love to talk about it. 610-632-0975. Mike from Delran wants to talk about it. What's going on, Mike?
Yo, what's going on?
What's up with you?
Dude, I wasn't on hold for even a second. Check this out. I love it.
That's
Bob,
you got a special place in my heart, Mike.
Bob, you're killing it. Congratulations, man.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
I'm glad to listen. Check you out. First day, you got to sit down with the head coach. I love that. Only you can get that done, Bob. Just so you know.
I was just the one that asked. That's all.
Yeah. Listening to him is refreshing. Like he's just genuine. Like I don't feel like I'm getting BS. He reminds me a lot of Tortorella. Like those two guys are probably the best two head coaches in this city, and the two teams that are probably going to take a little longer to be in the mix. You know what I mean? But
real quick, Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I got done talking to him yesterday because I told him I was only going to take about 10 or 15 minutes of his time. I said to the PR guy I was walking out with, I could sit and talk basketball with him all day long.
Yeah. It was like, you hear a lot of these and you just kind of glance over. Yeah, right. You hear Sirianni give you all the crap he gives and whatever, right? But no, that was awesome. That was a great interview, Bob. You're doing a great job. Congratulations again. You're going to kill it, my brother. Go Birds!
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you. Mike did a stand-up comedy routine on Saturday night at a new place that he plugged. It's over in Jersey. He plugged it on the morning show. I don't remember the name of it, but it has something to do with weed and, something like right up your alley. Yeah, I know that would pique your interest.
Right up my alley. Yeah,
yours and Andrew's, yeah.
Well,
Andrew.
I
think Andrew has thrown you out on that.
I got that midday stink on me. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it is.
That's what it is?
Yes, secondhand.
Yeah, secondhand smell here.
I know your mom and dad listen to the show, so I don't want to, throw anything out there. So, but
I'm going to be grounded. I'm going home now. Just wait. I'm not going to have my working papers.
I love your mom and dad. They're good people. But yeah, I thought Nick Nurse was really interesting yesterday, and one of the things I took out of it, Ray, that I want to see what people think of this, and we've already had somebody on YouTube kind of talk about it, but let me know what you think of this. 610-632-0975. Was this team not as good as we all thought it was, in that they're bringing in 37-year-old Kyle Lowry, and he has to do what Nick Nurse is asking him to do, and that's play 34, 35 minutes a game? I mean, even when they brought him in here, we all thought, okay, he'll be a backup, he'll come off the bench, but he'll be that voice in the locker room, give you 10, 12 minutes. Nick Nurse said it. We just heard it. They need him for 34 minutes out on that court. Are you surprised at that?
No, given the situation that he walked into. Like, I think when you look at a team like Melton, not that I'm having him run, the backup point here, but the fact that you are looking at your backcourt, he's not a part of those plans right now, and he's not, on the floor at all. That took a step forward with the number of injuries you've sustained, where you've had to go into deeper, like your starting lineup has reached deeper into your bench than you would anticipate. I don't think it's necessarily an indictment on the roster. I think it's more of the situations you found yourself in throughout this season that, okay, we have a Kyle Lowry. This is a steadying presence for us that, you know what, this veteran can help us get through this time where we have so much changing and so much going on with this group.
I like the one thing that he said, and it was my answer to the question I threw out earlier today. What good have you extracted from this team since Joel Embiid has been out? My answer before I talked to Nick Nurse yesterday was Kelly Oubre. I think the question about Kelly Oubre, now he's down in Charlotte last year, averages 20 a game. For a casual fan, you bring him on, you go, oh, my God, you got a 20, point scorer a night here. A lot of people said, yeah, he's a good player on a bad team. He's a good scorer. I don't care what team you're on. Kelly Oubre is going to score you points. And he's proven that here. He was playing really, really well, got hurt, took him a little time to come back from that, and I mean on the floor. Once he got back to playing, I think it took a little time for him to get back. But I think Kelly Oubre has kind of been that guy where you say, huh. And Nick Nurse just said, you team him up with a Buddy Hield, and I think he's talking about the same position, and you get the most out of them on the defensive end of the floor, which they're probably both a little suspect. He thinks he really has something there. I think Kelly Oubre has proven more to me during this time of Joel Embiid being out that he can be a key piece should Embiid come back, maybe more than anybody else.
That's interesting you put it that way, because you look at it as what his usage will be in an Embiid lineup, and which is probably the right framing of this. Because for me, I look at it at the usage he's having right now, and absolutely he can score for you. He can put up points. But I do think you've seen some dips in the field goal percentage because more has been asked of him. And you've obviously seen. I think you put it nicely with the defense of you'll be able to get more out of them because they're not necessarily the best on that end of the floor. I think I have slowly backed off of my Oubre appreciation because of the bigger role. But I think what we saw earlier in the season with Embiid lends me to believe if you get him back and you get Embiid back in that rotation with him, I think he is much more valuable. Right now, it bothers me just because I think the usage is so high, and I don't necessarily see him as that kind of player.
Well, here's how you balance your value on him. What's ideal? What's ideal? You have a full team here. Buddy Hield, everyone's healthy. Anthony Melton, whatever. You have a full team. What's a stat line that should be an average for a Kelly Oubre on this team?
Like a 13, 14 a game? I mean, that's right. I think where he's sitting right now.
How many minutes? Also, no, 13, 14 a game, fine. How about minutes? How many minutes should Kelly Oubre at his best be on the floor for this team?
Somewhere in the mid-20s.
Okay. And so that lends to, if he does that, if he's 24, 25 minutes a night, if he's getting you, I'll even up to 13, 14. I'll up it to, say, 16. Getting you 16 a night, that's probably the best Kelly Oubre there is. Because the way you're explaining it, when he has to do more or is expected to do more, maybe that's where like a 7 for 12 shooting night becomes a 7 for 19, a 7 for 20, something like that. Right?
Right. And I think that's, again, projecting his ideal role. I think the way you look at it there changes my framework of a little bit of the frustration I've gone with watching him, because I think you see the eventual role, and I've just seen the current, okay, this is the engine that we kind of need to help drive this thing alongside Maxey right now, and that's not the ideal role for him in the way this team's constructed in its best possible way.
Right, right. So, yet to be seen, who is this Sixers team? Good news yesterday that Joel Embiid was on the floor. Non-contact drills. Look, it's the equivalent of riding a bike that, I don't know, your parents decided to go to the store and maybe look at one. That's where it is as far as how close Joel Embiid is getting to actually riding that bike. But interesting stuff from Nick Nurse. What did you think about it? 610-632-0975. We'll talk a little bit more on that. Also, we'll reset some of the stuff we talked about earlier. This Eagles team, are they in a better place now than you even think they are? Or maybe they're not. We'll get back to all that and more here at 97.5 The Fanatic. we plow through, Ray. Hopefully you're fortunate enough, as I am, that you're surrounded by wonderful people at your workplace, and it just gets you through the day. Ray, you're part of that group. I consider you now, after us having spent all of 3.5 hours working together.
So now I made
You've entered into the realm of what I call a good group of people.
Okay, so it wasn't the first almost year and a half plus which I worked at the station. Today was the day that I stepped into that group.
Yeah, and there's still a half hour left. I can take you back out as easily as I put you back in, but
I don't know. I'm just
kid you.
curious what I did in the last 3.5 that checked the box here. Is it the buttons?
You got me through. That's for sure.
Okay, I pushed the buttons. Yep.
Now you people don't know. People don't know what producers do. A lot of times at stations when they're not talking. Ray is a master of it. People on the YouTube page, they see me giving you hand signals, and they're wondering if I'm calling for a fastball or a curveball.
Yeah, no, we've got signs. We've been able to develop that.
Yeah, we've got signs. We have new break times, as you probably can tell. So a couple of times I had to question into Ray. The name of the place, Stoned Dojo.
Got it. Sounds like a great place for Andrew to go check out.
Andrew will be there.
Andrew will be there. Yes.
Yes. Mr. and Mrs. Dunn, there's no need to put your son in rehab. He's fine.
Intervention's already been scheduled.
They're
going to be at my apartment door as soon as I get there.
I know. They've already called me and asked me to do the sit-in with you and all that. I said, I can't. I have some things to do. But
this was fun. It was a one-day run, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Hey, if you can do it, you can do it. So I brought up earlier on the show, and I think I might get somebody to talk about this to come on with us tomorrow. So maybe if I can get that person, we'll throw it out there tonight. But the NCAA tournament, and Brian Westbrook brought it up earlier, and I wonder if a lot of people are feeling this way too. People that listen to the morning show here know that, yes, 2 years ago I saw this Caitlin Clark girl play, and I just was like, wow, like this girl can really play. So I've been watching her progression for the last 2-3 years. Must-see TV for me. It's also has taught me about women's college basketball, not in a way of taught me who players are, who the good teams are. I've come way more familiar with it, maybe than even the men's game in college basketball. But yesterday, you have Selection Sunday. Dylan McKinnon comes up to you and I and says, hey, for Instagram, can you guys give me your winner and who a sleeper team might be? I had to go run into my bracket to remember who my sleeper team might be. Like, I feel awful as a sports fan that I'm not as educated in college basketball, not even close to where I once was, Ray. And you don't have much to compare it to like I do. Where are you? Like, where are you? You and I were talking college hoops on one of the breaks, and, you're mentioning players for Colgate that you went to school with, or he went to an opposing school, and this and that. I can't even dive that deep. Like, my two favorites, not to keep going here, I'll get you in a second, but my two favorite stories from this weekend were the fact that Howard University has a player, Seth Towns, who has been in college basketball for 8 years. 8 years. He played from 16 to 18 at Harvard, a year at Ohio State, and now he's at Howard University with medical stuff and all. 8 years he's been in college basketball, and he has one more year of eligibility left at 26. My other favorite story, North Carolina State, DJ Burns. If you haven't seen them play, check it out. 6'9", he's listed at 275. I said, my man hasn't seen under 300 in quite a while, and he is fun to watch. But, like, did you feel that yesterday was any different to you than past Selection Sundays?
I was watching Temple in the conference championship, which was pretty cool. But, yeah, overall, like, I think to me it's – and I also feel like given, and you mentioned earlier, the other gig working with Temple women's basketball, I've been so tapped into the women's side of it. I always joke with our men's basketball broadcaster, we're in touch constantly, but we never see one another because our schedules are so opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
So on, like, some of the, like, marquee nights for college basketball, I'm calling a game, and I'm, like, not necessarily tapped in. And when I do get back to being tapped in, it's, okay, was there a Sixers game? Let me get everything I can out of that Sixers. Was there a Flyers game? Let me get So I do think I've been a little bit more, just by circumstance, disconnected to especially the men's side of things, where I know when I was in college, like, we used to build up, March, this weekend we are doing this, next weekend we're doing that. We had the backyard in our apartment where we'd set up with 4 TVs at noon on Thursday, and nobody went to class. I mean, for the next 4 days. Man, this has been a banner hour for me and the human I am for my parents. But, like that's the way it was. Like that was kind of the way we set up. So I do feel like I'm a little more disconnected with the game. I think you have to actively – I think storylines kind of appeared for you because they built on year by year. Now you have to more actively seek out the same. And also some of the names in terms of coaching have changed. I think that's also another – like some of the giants of the game stepped away, and it's not that their replacements haven't done the right things. It's just that you don't know them as well. You see Coach K on your TV, it elicits some sort of emotional reaction to you.
Yeah,
that's different now.
Exactly. Of the 12 local Division I teams, only Drexel women going to the NCAA tournament. I don't remember a year like this ever. I started to think we're talking to our son Kyle last night, and just talking about stuff, and then I said something about golfing. He goes, "Yeah, I'm golfing on Thursday and Friday," and my wife says, "How are you golfing on Thursday and Friday? Don't you have to work?" And he said, "No, I took those 2 days off for the NCAA tournament. So he's going to get up early, golf, and then be ready for the noon games." All right, he's 25. So to him, it's still all right there. And he graduated from South Carolina. Obviously, they're women, number 1 overall seed. The men had a really good year this year. They're in the tournament also. So his interest is understood. And, he followed. He played a year at LaSalle, so he kept an eye on them all year and everything. I just couldn't find that hook for me. For men's basketball this year, I just couldn't. Now, like I told you, I'll go over to LaSalle, Villanova, Penn, Drexel, any game, St. Joe's, Temple. I'll go watch any of those guys anytime I can. But, like, as far as the national hook, like what can bring me in? No, not even the kid Edey, who's probably the best player in the country for Purdue. Well, I can't even relate to that because that guy's 7'2", and just nobody can cover him because he's that big in a college game that's not a big man's game anymore. I don't know, and I feel awful about it.
I don't come back, right? It can. I think it can. I also think we're at a time where there's so much that and maybe this might be my youth and naiveness, because you might feel like we've had these conversations forever about the teetering nature of the collegiate landscape. I just think it's been amplified by the number of changes you've seen most recently that have changed the way you view, college athletics, and changed the way that, the athletes themselves can view college athletics. And I think that is part of, while you have this much uncertainty in the future of the way it's going to be governed, the future of the way it's going. Like I saw this was the SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, was the one that talking about like, oh yeah, do we need the St. Peter's? Do we need the Florida Atlantics? Like, they're good stories, but is that what this is about? It's like, how much touch do we really have with the college game and what it means, and how much has it moved to a little bit more of the, if television eyes are there, that's what it is. And that's the end story of it. And I think that's, I hope we get to a settling down piece where we kind of get stabilized collegiate landscape, but I don't know if we're going to be there yet. That's my hope. I hope we get to a place where it kind of gets back to that.
Yeah, I've told this story maybe once on the morning show, that it was a few summers ago that I talked to one of the college coaches and just having a conversation and this and that. And it really kind of got into, look, neither one of us were standing there to say what's wrong with the NCAA, but him talking about it after we left each other, I was like, wow, like he's not happy about how the NCAA is running. He or she, I should say, because I don't want to give the person's identity. But I really was. I was thinking about, like, wow. And the talk was about transfer portal, and it was about NIL becoming a thing, and all those. And I don't know, Ray. You say it easily, yeah, it can come back. I'm really nervous about it because I love college basketball so much. Maybe it will. Hopefully from your mouth to the NCAA's ears, right, it'll get us back on track. But there were some great games to watch this weekend. I watched St. Joe's on Saturday. It was cool. I kind of built my Saturday around watching them. Got home, we had to run some errands, and it was a beautiful day. But they were on early, so when they got done, then I went out back and was able to do some work outside for a little while. So Billy Lang and his club, tremendous run. Temple with a great run. Your TU Owls getting to the finals yesterday. Just didn't have enough of it. And after the air quotes here, scandal kind of that surrounded Temple, right after that, they go on a 5-game winning streak and get to where they were. It's a shame nobody from the area is making it. And such a big, big thing back in the day was there would be a breakfast on the floor of the Palestra. You remember this?
I went to one of them.
Oh, did you really?
Yep.
Okay, I went to a few of them also. And you would have the Big Five coaches would be there, and more than a couple probably had their team in the tournament. And, it was a great time, and I think the women were represented also. And that's the first thing I thought of after Temple lost was, can you even have a breakfast? Nobody's dancing. Again, congratulations to the Drexel women's team. I don't even know if there was a Big Five breakfast yesterday. And so it's a shame. Hopefully those things are picking up. Like I said, the job that Billy Lang did with St. Joe's, getting better and better. That's what you love to see. Some really special players there. Hopefully they can build off of that. Penn's going to recover because, they got hurt. And that's weird. Penn's getting killed by the transfer. Dingle goes to St. John's to play for, what's his face?
Pitino.
Rick Pitino. And, that just devastates them. So we'll see. But the real college basketball season gets started on Thursday, Ray. We'll have the TV on here in the station. You and I will be keeping one eye on that, one eye on each other. So it'll be fun to watch. Some good storylines. Who's the coach that got fired and then his team advanced to the tournament?
Dan Monson from Long Beach State.
Long Beach State, right. What a story that is.
Crazy.
They decide to part ways with the guy before his conference tournament starts. He goes on and wins the conference tournament. Now his team's in the NCAA tournament. You think that'll be revisited?
I think so. If you were him, would you revisit it? No. Hey, guess what? I just won a conference tournament. I'm going to, March Madness, and hey, maybe there's a bigger school that wants to talk to me.
That's right. So good on him for doing that. All right, when we get back, last segment for you here on Middays with Bob Cooney. Let's talk a little bit more about stuff that Brian Westbrook had to say earlier concerning your Philadelphia Eagles, because it was sort of eye-opening, ear-opening, a couple of things that he had to say. If you have any thoughts on that, 610-632-0975. This is 97.5, The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney with 76ers head coach Nick Nurse.
You have to stay in the moment, especially with this group, what's going on?
Yeah, 100%, and I think it also applies to this
is Philadelphia's sports station for breaking news. Now, more with Bob Cooney, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back on this beautiful Monday. Thank you for joining us on our first Middays with Bob Cooney. We really appreciate you. Appreciate all your feedback. YouTubers, love y'all. Ray and I have gotten a lot of nice words from people throughout the day and throughout the weekend. And so just want to let you know we appreciate that. The 1 o'clock hour, it's brought to you by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors. For equipment, parts, and supplies for every heating and cooling job, visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Bensalem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or West Chester. So we get ready to wrap up this fantastic Monday. A lot of fun with you, Ray, today. But we had Brian Westbrook on earlier. And one of the questions that we talked about a little bit, I asked him if a carryover can happen with the badness of the Eagles season of what it was over the last 7 games. Can it carry over? Brian had a great answer. He said, yeah, if things start to go bad, that'll be the first thing that pops in everybody's mind, that it'll be, uh-oh, here we go again. Seen this before. So it came to me that it's incumbent upon the Philadelphia Eagles to get off to a fast start. So as that schedule comes out this year in a couple of months, I think it's something you really have to look for. I think it's something you really have to look at. Where do they wind up in those first 5 games, 4 or 5 games? Is there a real good chance for them to be out in front of everything, to see exactly where they are? So let's go back to what Brian Westbrook had to say about the Eagles earlier today.
Well, it all depends how you start. You've been around teams where if you start good, you start getting that charisma, you start getting that swagger. Even if the team isn't great, you start to feel like you are. And that kind of carries you over to your talent and catch up to some of your swagger. However, conversely, if you start off bad and that bad taste starts to creep back into your mouth just a little bit, now you're saying, hold on, I remember what happened last year. And I remember I didn't have any faith in the coach. And I remember I started doubting this person. I started doubting that person. And we didn't change anything. We brought in some new people, but it's still the same problem. So as a team, it's important that Nick Sirianni corrects things early on in this offseason. You're bringing in a bunch of new guys. We need to address the issues that happened last year and then move forward and correct those issues with these new guys.
Pretty telling right there, coming especially from someone that was in the league as long as Brian. Cool. Hey, Nick Sirianni, guess what? Pressure's on you. You better have this team ready to go. You better have your coordinators ready to go so that this team can get off to that start that Brian was talking about, because he knows. That's a former player right there. He knows how easily those bad memories can get conjured up in the player's mind should things not go well early on.
I mean, you just look at the way they had no answers at the end of the season. If you come into the next season, it doesn't feel like you have answers. Why would you? Feel good about where you're headed? Why would you feel like they have a handle on everything? It's why, again, you bring back Sirianni, you take away the power, but he's still there, and he's still the figurehead, and he's still the guy that when talk about things going wrong, that's who everyone's going to look to. And if he still doesn't have anything for you, that's a scary start. I don't want us to be leaving Brazil talking about the conversation around Syria. Not physically leaving Brazil.
I was going to say, we're going to Brazil?
No,
My God,
no.
this midday show is fun.
Yeah, no. We're not
You
going
and I
to
are going to Brazil?
Yeah, that's what we're starting. Let's start the rumor. We're headed to Brazil.
Well, your parents just texted me and said they won't let you because they don't trust you over in Brazil now. So, yeah, that's good
now
on you.
we're really going to play to the age thing, aren't we, Bob?
No, that wasn't an age thing. It was about your usage of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
But what are you going to do? Hey, Fanatic Monday, it's presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. So, Ray, what were your Thursday and Friday this week? We're going to be on the air until 2, but then we'll rush out of here. What does it entail now that you're an adult to go watch these games? Do you have a place to go to? Are you going to invite me? Like, what's the deal?
You are invited.
Okay, cool.
So I will give you the invitation right now. When we get off the air, I'll give you the location. But yes, one of my friends I think is going to try and recreate the dynamic we had of watching the games back. I don't think I can use the phrase back in college, but A couple years ago when we did it, when we all got together for it.
Last tournament.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to not last tournament. Come on, Bob. I was off. That was great scheduling on the part of this station giving me those 2 days off. I had a great time last year to open up. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That Thursday, Friday, I don't know how it happened, but it was awesome. But yes, we'll be trying to do that. So nice little outdoor setup, couple TVs. I hope the weather's nice. Otherwise, I'll be really disappointed. And, maybe a nice beverage or two to enjoy the game.
Boy.
Yeah.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, I'll be anxious to see what I got going on. I love the first Thursday and Friday of NCAA basketball.
I just gave you an invitation.
Yeah.
What do you mean, what do you got going on?
Well, you're going to some guy's house.
Yeah. Bob, you're welcome.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd rather go to a more popular setting, shall we say. No, like
how
a
do you
bar.
know it's not going to be a popular setting?
Like a sports bar.
Ah.
Yeah. So nothing against you and your friends. Love to hang out with you.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like it's a little against
Well, listen, we want to thank you for joining us today on our initial midday show. Bob, Cooney, and Ray. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Lots of fun things to talk about. You got Sixers tonight, 7:30 here on the Fanatic against the Miami Heat. Check that out. We'll have more Phillies, Eagles, Sixers talk, Flyers, all for you tomorrow. And keep an eye on social media throughout the day. We'll let you know. There might be a guest or two tomorrow that you'll be interested in hearing. Thanks for joining us once again here at the Fanatic. We will talk to you bright and early tomorrow. Stay tuned. Best show ever with Tyrone, Ricky, and Jen.